3426 Eldest senior brother, invincible in the sea of stars, 2. Everyone immediately understood. So that was the case. Sure enough, after only 3 seconds, the violent energy gradually subsided. Ah. Void. Even if you come in person, so what? Even the death god and time can't obliterate me. What makes you think you can do that? Just with this void? Opposite them, countless great Tao laws and heavenly Tao patterns quickly gathered and condensed into Jiang Taichu again. Bang! However, the moment Jiang Taichu appeared, the damaged part of the creation star compass burst out with a strange light, as if a power was about to rush out. Eldest senior brother stepped in the air and said calmly, "The creation star compass is the battlefield you chose. It suits me. I'll keep you here forever." Everyone immediately realized that Jiang Taichu was making a feint. On one hand, he appeared in front of everyone, and on the other hand, he was trying to escape from the creation star compass. Unfortunately, his plan was seen through by eldest senior brother. At the crack of the creation star compass, eldest senior brother had already set up a void seal. 2 Jiang Taikas appeared at the same time and said in unison, "So what? You can't kill me. Even if you can temporarily seal me, I will break this cage one day." Eldest senior brother shook his head slightly. "No. You are different from the ominous. You swallowed a part of it, but since it can be swallowed, it can be sealed. Do you really think the death god and time can't obliterate you? It will take a lot of time to obliterate you. They are too lazy to waste time with you. Stop pretending. Let's see how you can obliterate me. If you can't suppress me, the people behind you will all die today. Don't forget, the creation star compass is mine." Jiang Taichu took the initiative to attack, not with the ominous combat skills, but with the combat skills of the myriad races. The power of a single sword triggered billions of stars, as if the entire creation star compass was providing him with power. This place seemed to carry the power of the sea of stars. Just seeing the sword light, Han Fei and senior brother Six God's eyes instantly exploded. Han Fei immediately activated his original great Tao and pushed his strength to the God realm, and his eyes instantly recovered. However, when he looked again, he saw that eldest senior brother had his hands behind his back. In front of him was a sword light that spanned tens of thousands of kilometers, but it was suspended in midair. Senior brother Six God had just recovered when his eyes exploded again. Boom. Eldest senior brother gently raised his hand and flicked his finger on the sword. With continuous cracking sounds, the sword light finally turned into powder with a bang. "You're wrong. Since the creation star compass contains a void, how can it be yours? Since there is a void in it, shouldn't it be mine?" "What?" Jiang Taichu's expression changed slightly. He immediately tried to mobilize the power in the creation star compass again, but this world no longer listened to him. He seemed to realize something and said in shock, "You weren't annihilating the ominous power just now. You were purifying the creation star compass itself." Jiang Taichu realized that something was wrong. He seemed to realize something, and immediately jumped up, reaching his 5 fingers into the sky, trying to break the seal on the crack of the creation star compass. However, his body seemed to be imprisoned by billions of threads. As soon as the huge hand was raised, he couldn't move anymore. Boom. Everyone saw that Jiang Taichu's body shattered again, but this time, it seemed to be a little different. There seemed to be something in the ominous body. When they took a closer look, they found that it was composed of dense, void fragments. What terrifying control! Jiang Linxian couldn't help but exclaim. It shattered the vast void into hair-like pieces. God knew how many billions of pieces Jiang Taichu had been crushed into. Jiang Taichu's eyes even tried to move, twisting and deforming into a strange pattern. Han Fei scanned it with his perception and couldn't help but click his tongue. He had been F*King disassembled into molecules, right? Jiang Taichu was fighting against billions of void powers by rolling his eyes. Eldest senior brother said calmly, after all, you are half a person. Even if you die, it's better to be a human. Why do you have to have anything to do with the ominous? You. Jiang Taichu wanted to speak, but his mouth shattered into billions of pieces. He didn't say the word you, but his soul did. But clearly, his soul seemed to have been disassembled too. Eldest senior brother reached out and grabbed the black ancient coffin from somewhere. Bang! Eldest senior brother opened the coffin lid with one hand, and senior brother undead was soaking in the liquid ominous that filled the coffin. After seeing eldest senior brother, he said indifferently, it's a little troublesome. I need 1,000,000 years to digest it. Eldest senior brother nodded slightly. It's okay. I'll ask time to help you. Accelerate later. Eat more. With that, eldest senior brother casually waved his hand, and a large amount of ominous aura in Jiang Taichu's shattered body was forcibly extracted by eldest senior brother, condensed into a liquid ominous, and sent into the re-evader coffin. Crack crack. Jiang Taichu couldn't speak, but he was probably extremely shocked at this moment. He could only watch helplessly as the ominous power that had fused with 4 billions of years was extracted bit by bit. In less than 100 seconds, he could no longer extract any ominous power from his body. Only then did eldest senior brother say leisurely, if you had appeared 10,000 years later, you might have had a chance to cooperate with the ominous from the inside out. Unfortunately, you came out too early. Destroy. Boom. Jiang Taichu's entire body turned into nothingness, and his soul dispersed into specks of stardust. Han Fei immediately looked at the river of life and found that countless fine streams were converging into the main meridians of the river of life. 3427 Eldest senior brother, invincible in the sea of stars, 3. We won. While Han Fei was amazed, eldest senior brother suddenly looked back at Han Fei. Han Fei was dumbfounded, so were the others. A void film suddenly appeared in front of Han Fei, and on the void film, a figure was reflected. It was Jiang Taichu's face. Shoot. Han Fei was taken aback, because Jiang Taichu's face was less than half a foot away from him, making him break into a cold sweat. Eldest senior brother said indifferently, the path of reincarnation is no longer yours. How can it be a place you can go as you please? In the next moment, the small space in front of Han Fei collapsed into a bead, which eldest senior brother waved his hand and held. Gulp. Han Fei swallowed. Is he dead? Han Fei looked at eldest senior brother, but he couldn't see any expression on his face. He couldn't even describe eldest senior brother's facial features. His face seemed to be more handsome than Zhang Xuanyu's, but in a daze, he seemed to be even more ordinary than the bandit god. Then, he seemed to be Extremely elegant, but his eyes seemed to contain a sea of stars. Unfathomable. Is this the appearance of all living beings? Han Fei muttered in his heart. Eldest senior brother said, he hasn't completely died yet. It will take some time to obliterate him. With that, eldest senior brother looked at Han Guangqiu and Jiang Linxian and nodded slightly. You don't have to interfere in little junior brother's future. Everything is predestined. Jiang Linxian also bowed slightly. We can't interfere anymore. Eldest senior brother grunted and then said, the ominous is coming. It's very strong this time. You don't have much time left. Everyone's heart sank. For now, in their hearts, eldest senior brother was probably the strongest in the sea of stars. Even so, if eldest senior brother still said that the ominous was very strong, how strong was the other party? With that, eldest senior brother stopped talking to Han Fei and the others. Instead, he turned around and looked at third senior brother. Can you carry it? Senior brother Undead said leisurely, okay. Yes. In the next moment, Han Fei and the others felt that the sky changed, the stars moved, and the world seemed to be reversed. In the blink of an eye, they returned to the world within a world. The law enforcement divine chain was still holding the concealing divine seal, floating in midair. They're back. They're back. Seeing Han Fei and the others return, the divine descendants all shouted, and many people cried with joy. They knew that from this moment on, they would be free. Qiu Wanren stood on the side of the city of divine descendants and didn't come to join Han Fei and the others. Xia Xiaochan, on the other hand, came to Han Fei immediately. Has the guy in the big coffin died? Han Fei sighed, recalling the scene just now, and smiled. Sort of. Only then did Xia Xiaochan realize that Han Guangqiu and Jiang Linxian were also here. She hurriedly said, greetings, father and mother. Jiang Linxian smiled and said, Xiaochan, you're making rapid progress. Not bad. I have some secret techniques that I can teach you. Xia Xiaochan was briefly stunned. Teach me now? Jiang Linxian smiled. Your father and I are leaving later. Now. Han Fei's heart stirred and he immediately said, go. Xia Xiaochan seemed to understand something and immediately followed Jiang Linxian. Then, the judge of the 10 Yamas of hell said, fellow Taoists, the eternal race is still causing trouble. We'll take our leave first. The master of the time temple said stiffly, everyone, goodbye. After the people from the immortal temple and the time temple left, Lei Heng nagged, the guys from the time temple don't seem to like us. Fifth senior brother smiled and said, that's just his temperament. Besides, why should we care about him? Lei Heng just rambled on casually and then changed the topic. Then what should we do now? Senior brother Six God said, you've all transcended the divine tribulation. So it should be my turn now. I've guarded you, so you have to guard me now. Lei Heng was shocked. Are you going to transcend the divine tribulation? I've never understood how you do it. Senior brother Six God said, you want to see it? Come with me to the Shattered Star Sea first. Lei Heng was immediately refreshed. Oh. Are you leaving the sea realm? Yes, yes. Let's go. Fifth senior brother, senior sister Dark Shadow, we'll leave first. Let's meet again someday. Fifth senior brother said, go. Remember to take it easy. The Shattered Star Sea can't withstand your torture. Senior brother Six God, fifth senior brother, don't worry. With that, the two of them left the world within a world in the blink of an eye. Senior brother Lei Heng seemed to be very eager. Seeing that everyone had left, senior sister Dark Shadow immediately said, "Fifth senior brother, little junior brother, see you in the sea of stars." Han Fei said, "Goodbye, senior sister." In the blink of an eye, only fifth senior brother, Yulinka, Han Fei, and old Han were left. Seeing this, Yulinka pulled fifth senior brother and said, "Come on, go back to my clan and marry me." Fifth senior brother asked, and marry you?" Yulinka said, "Of course. You molested me in public, and you still want to run? Hey, well. 3428 Eldest senior brother, invincible in the sea of stars, 4. After fifth senior brother left, Han Fei said, "How is it? Now there are only the two of us left. It's time to tell us, right? How many more traps have you set up?" "Really?" Old Han said, "You've already cultivated the supreme divine technique to this point. We can't set up any traps for you. Besides, the Central Sea Divine Realm was defeated in this battle and suffered heavy losses. The Divine Descendants' bloodline has been restored and they have regained their freedom. There's nothing left in the Sea Realm that's worth setting up." "What about the Central Sea Divine Realm?" Old Han said, "The Central Sea Divine Realm has suffered a great defeat this time. Even though they still have strong masters, how can they dare to attack again easily? Besides, with your senior brother's current realm, how can they be afraid of the Central Sea Divine Realm?" "What about the eternal race?" Old Han narrowed his eyes slightly. "The eternal race has always been a matter for your mother and me. We have never deliberately set up a trap for you on this matter. As for the demon purification pot's last vine, don't try to collect it for the time being. Your mother and I will take this vine back." Han Fei said, "The path of reincarnation is with me. This is also set up by you, right?" Old Han smiled and said, "Yes, but this is just snatching the luck of the eternal race. At least, they don't know that the path of reincarnation is with you yet. They won't specially come to you." Han Fei said, "No. This matter has already involved me. The path of reincarnation can be hidden for a day or two, but I can't watch the path of reincarnation all the time. The eternal race will see through it sooner or later. Therefore, it's impossible for me to stay out of trouble." Old Han sighed slightly. "What you should be thinking about now is how to walk through the path of the supreme divine technique. Your mother and I are also helpless about this path." Han Fei said, "Don't talk about that. It's my business how to walk through this path. By the way, what's his name? Who is it?" Han Guanshu looked at Han Fei, who was also looking at him. "That's in the past." Han Fei said, "Then why don't you tell me about him? Don't forget, the path of reincarnation is with me. It's still possible to find him." Han Guanshu shook his head slightly. "Don't." "Why?" Han Guanshu's face became solemn for once. "As your eldest senior brother said, the ominous is coming. 10,000 years is too short. We might as well let him be an ordinary person and live well. If he's ordinary, he might be able to live a few more lives." Han Fei asked, "What's his name?" "Han Ling." "Just one?" Han Guanshu didn't know whether to laugh or cry. "How many more do you want? No one in this world can escape from worldly affairs. There are always some grudges." When the Central Sea Divine Realm attacked you protected her. But what if you can't? Just give birth to another child? Han Fei raised his eyebrows. Were you there? Han Guangqiu smiled. What did you say? I didn't hear you clearly just now. Don't pretend. I know you must have been there. Han Guangqiu said, anyway, you've won. What's the difference whether we were here or not? That's probably what I'm talking about. You should know. Han Fei nodded slightly. Okay. Then I won't ask further. Since you said that. Your plan is over. Where are you going and what are you going to do in the future? Where is my sister? Han Guangqiu said, Ener has her own path. You don't have to worry about her. As for where we are going, you should be able to guess something, right? 9 lives? Han Fei knew that old Han and the others must have helped Ener pave a lot of roads and set up many traps, but he didn't know where these traps were. However, with old Han's plan, Ener shouldn't be in much danger, and they definitely wouldn't want to suffer the pain of losing their child again. Therefore, he didn't ask about Ener again. Han Guangqiu nodded slightly. I still have my last life and haven't fused with it. It's time. Han Fei asked, can you enter the Dominator realm after that? Han Guangqiu shook his head. I don't know. Maybe, maybe not. But whether I can or not, the destruction of the eternal race will definitely happen. Han Fei nodded. Okay. After a pause, Han Fei said, what's the identity of my mother? Han Guangqiu said, Jiang Taichu was indeed a great dominator in the past, and the current chaotic divine race was created by him. Your mother was extremely smart. She saw some changes in Jiang Taichu a few years ago, so she took away some of the human race during the primordial war. As for her identity, under Jiang Taichu's lead, some of the strongest powerhouses of the human race in the past died directly or indirectly until Jiang Taichu disappeared. Your mother took advantage of the situation and obtained the primordial seal. She could be considered the guardian god of the human race. Han Fei asked, what about you? Han Guangqiu laughed. I'm not as talented as your mother. But my array skills are not bad. What about me? Your chess piece, or your son? Fair. Han Guangqiu smacked his lips and said, my talent is indeed not as good as yours. Jiang Linxian had returned with Xia Xiaochan, but at this moment, Xia Xiaochan was a little confused and seemed to have indeed accepted some inheritance and was digesting it. Jiang Linxian said, Fair, there are some things I didn't want to tell you. But you're old enough to know them. We did recultivate 9 lives for revenge. But we didn't nurture you as a chess piece, but an accident happened. When I was cultivating with your father, which evolved into a dual spiritual heritage that we couldn't bear. That's why you are here. We gave birth to you and Ener, but we also miss Ling, so we obtained the path of reincarnation. Now, you have long surpassed the chess game. No one can control your fate, let alone change it. And your father and I want to take revenge for Ling. Ourselves. Han Fei listened quietly and finally smiled. Got it. I have no more questions. After hearing his parents' explanation, although Han Fei didn't completely believe them, at least his doubts were resolved. He couldn't say that his parents paving the way for him was a bad thing. An hour later, Xia Xiaochan woke up slowly. Seeing that Han Fei was trying his best to persuade the concealing divine seal, she couldn't help but ask, where are Mom and Dad? You're awake? They've already left. They're leaving already? They haven't seen E yet, right? Han Fei thought that they had seen E countless times. He couldn't help but smile. They have their own business. Let them be. By the way, what secret technique did my mother teach you? A smile appeared at the corner of Xia Xiaochan's mouth. Some insights. I've benefited a lot from them. What are you doing? Han Fei pointed at the concealing divine seal and said, this guy is disobedient. Xia Xiaochan was lost for words. After all, it's a supreme nature treasure. It won't surrender so easily. You should ask fifth senior brother how to subdue it. He's knowledgeable. He might know what to do. That's true. Han Fei patted the concealing divine seal that was locked by the creation divine chain and said, okay. Okay, you have a temper. If you refuse to submit to me now, it might not be the case later. Han Fei dragged the concealing divine seal back to the city with Xia Xiaochan. At this moment, the city was celebrating, or to be exact, holding a wedding. Yulinka was a woman who was willing to go all out. She did drag fifth senior brother back to marry her. At this moment, she was busy with something with fifth senior brother in the room. Anyway, the barrier was sealed so tightly that no one could see or hear anything. Han Fei's popularity among the divine descendants could be said to be at its peak. Immediately, a group of people bowed to him and thanked him, even if most of them were monarchs or even great monarchs. Greetings, human emperor. Thank you, human emperor, for saving our divine descendants from fire and water. Thank you, human emperor. Han Fei walked all the way down with a stiff smile. Several hours later, Han Fei and Le Renquang even became fifth senior brother's personal chefs and prepared for fifth senior brother's wedding. The wedding was actually very simple. It was nothing more than swearing to the heavens and earth. At this moment, there were only a few dozen people in the yard. Xia Xiaochan took Yi out to see the world and was saying something to her. Zhang Xuanyu was comforting his daughter, and Qiu Wanren seemed to be discussing soul techniques with Luo Xiaobai. As for fifth senior brother, Han Fei and Le Renquang were cooking leisurely. But he was holding a wine calabash and drinking with the fragrance of the dishes. After all, after the divine bloodline recovered, Yulinka and Granny Meng had some plans to discuss, so they were not here at the moment. Han Fei said, fifth senior brother, I'm not a chef for nothing. Can you shatter this creation void spiritual drum for me to reforge my blood sky blade? Old Han didn't take away the creation void spiritual drum, but left him and the five-colored divine soil behind. At this moment, Han Fei was holding a kitchen knife in his hand. The creation void spiritual drum was placed on the table and knocked with the kitchen knife. With clanging sounds. The creation void spiritual drum seemed to be very unhappy and shook a few times, but ended up being knocked even harder by Han Fei. Fifth senior brother was lost for words. You broke a supreme nature treasure. To reforge your high-quality nature spiritual treasure? Little junior brother. You don't have to do that, do you? Han Fei said, senior brother, I told you that if this guy doesn't submit to me, I'll make him my slave. I'm not kidding with him. In my opinion, a supreme nature treasure for the enemy is not even as good as my blood sky blade. Although the blood sky blade is indeed not as good as him, it's my partner who can fight to the end of the sea of stars with me. And this guy can only be used by the traders of the myriad races. Buzz. The creation void spiritual drum vibrated crazily, trying to say a word that Sounded like teeth grinding from the sealed hole. Nonsense. Oh. You can talk? Han Fei sneered. But so what? Can it change the fact that you're a traitor? The creation void spiritual drum seemed to be furious, and it made an unpleasant and ear-piercing sound with difficulty. There are many internal conflicts among the myriad races. This is just an internal strife. Everyone has their own masters. Why should I become a traitor? Han Fei said disdainfully, internal strife? I know you're blind, but I didn't expect your spiritual senses to be blind too. Jiang Taichu, the creator of the chaotic divine race, a former powerhouse of the myriad races, swallowed the ominous and wanted to use your operation to overturn the sea realm. You've King surrendered to the ominous. If you're not a traitor, which one is? Buzz. The creation void spirit drum seemed to still want to argue with Han Fei, but Han Fei ignored him and stuffed the skewers of barbecue into his holes. Buzz. Although the creation void spiritual drum was sealed, a few skewers of barbecue could still be shattered. However, just as he was about to do this, Han Fei sneered. If you dare to destroy my skewers, I'll throw you into a feces pit and soak you there every day. Lu Renquang wanted to speak. Since he heard that this thing was a supreme nature treasure, he had been looking at it. Seeing this, fifth senior brother hurriedly tried to smooth things over. All right. Little junior brother, he was used after all, so he went astray. The recovery of the blood sky blade really doesn't need a supreme nature treasure. Just forget it. Why should I forget it? Han Fei smiled. I think what sister-in-law said makes sense. I agree. Does the sea realm lack a supreme nature treasure like him? Fifth senior brother said, Hey, don't be so serious. Yulinka said, Why not? Are you going to refute me as soon as we get married? The chessboard that little junior brother paid for our divine descendants and the blood sky blade are both extremely extraordinary. We can't waste them for nothing. Since this damn drum doesn't want to surrender, what's the use of it? We might as well destroy it in case others take advantage of it in the future. Alas. Fifth senior brother sighed slightly and looked at the creation void spiritual drum. As you can see, what you did today is indeed infuriating. If you still refuse to obey, I can only refine your spiritual consciousness. I didn't know what would happen today. Han Fei sneered. You don't know Jiang Taishu? You're just a supreme nature treasure. Don't you know what's going on? The ominous army is coming, yet you're still fighting me? Are you out of your mind? Yulinka said, Cut the crap. Just refine it. Fifth senior brother shook his head slightly, and a gray fog appeared in his palm, and the creation void spiritual drum immediately vibrated eagerly. I can choose a master, but I won't choose you. Han Fei immediately said angrily, Fifth senior brother, refine him. When a gray mist enveloped the creation void spiritual drum, Han Fei waved his hand, and the law enforcement divine chain came with the concealing divine seal. Han Fei said, Senior brother, refine this concealing divine seal, too. The concealing divine seal immediately trembled. He and the creation void spiritual drum had witnessed fifth senior brother transcending the tribulation the entire time. That strength might not be able to shatter them, but it was not difficult to refine their spiritual senses. Seeing that the concealing divine seal was shaking violently, Han Fei said leisurely, the winner takes all. I'll give you one last chance. Submit to me. With my vast ocean navigator, you may shine. Or, refine your spiritual senses. Perhaps the power of the concealing divine seal will be greatly reduced, but I don't care. Remember, you only have one chance to choose. With that, Han Fei raised his hand, obviously asking the concealing divine seal to choose its master. It couldn't be simple to become a supreme nature treasure and cultivate spiritual consciousness. At least, none of Han Fei's supreme nature treasures had spiritual consciousness. Even the demon purification pot didn't have any consciousness. There was no telling if it was because there was still a vine missing. On the side, the creation void spiritual drum was being refined, and the concealing divine seal trembled non-stop. Without much hesitation, it surrendered, took the initiative to draw Han Fei's bloodline, and condensed into a unique eye mark on the surface of Han Fei's body. Han Fei was secretly delighted. It seemed that the supreme nature treasures had different characters. He immediately sat cross-legged and refined them, leaving all the cooking to Lu Renquang. It should be because Han Fei was very strong now, so it wasn't difficult for him to refine the concealing divine seal. Supreme nature treasures were strong, but the process of their recognizing a master wasn't complicated. They didn't even need to extract much qi and blood. They only needed to make a qi and blood and soul brand and slightly refine it. About half an hour later, Han Fei slowly opened his eyes and couldn't help but sigh. As expected of a supreme nature treasure. Although it couldn't be used in combat, its concealment ability was ridiculously strong. Name: Concealing Divine Seal. Introduction: in the past, there was a great powerhouse who made an ultimate concealment type treasure with the dew of origin. The concealing divine seal has many effects such as concealment, perfect disguise, messing up heavenly secrets, concealing traces, blocking cause and effect, and isolating perception. Quality: Supreme Nature Treasure. Effect 1: Breath Concealing. It can hide the aura of a powerhouse of any realm and hide the soul, luck, bloodline, heavenly secrets, great Tao, and law. This is a passive effect that has always been used on the master of the concealing divine seal. Effect 2: Disguise. It can disguise itself as any creature in any realm. No one in the known realm can see through it unless the other party can crack the breath concealing technique. Effect 3: Hiding the heaven and earth. It can hide the traces of all creatures in an area according to its master's will, sealing all their contact with the outside world. This skill is suitable for all laws and can prevent detection, but it can't form a sealing barrier. Once you leave this space, this technique will fail. Effect 4: Sweep Marks. It can wipe all traces in a fixed area, making this space untraceable. Effect 5: Mark Convergence. Forcibly disperse the techniques mastered by its master and make them completely disappear from the world. Once the casting is completed, it will hide in the world, unaffected by any power, and will guide its master away. Can't be reforged. Refined. Note: it's better not expose the secret that you have the concealing divine seal. Even Han Fei couldn't help but admire the effect of the concealing divine seal. Almost as long as he didn't take the initiative to expose himself, he wouldn't be exposed. He seriously suspected that the owner of the concealing divine seal was once a strong master of assassination. After all, this effect was probably the ultimate treasure of the assassination world. As soon as Han Fei finished refining the concealing divine seal, 5th Senior Brother gave up refining the creation void spiritual drum. The concealing divine seal trembled slightly. He seemed to sense something. Was he tricked? Weren't they going to refine the spiritual consciousness of the creation void spiritual drum? Why did this guy stop? Han Fei laughed and said to the concealing divine seal, although I don't like him, it doesn't mean that I will really destroy him. Different from those people in the Central Sea divine realm, I know what righteousness is. When the ominous returns, all of you need to participate in the battle, and he is no exception. Of course, this doesn't mean that I will let him go far away. Only then did Han Fei look at the creation void spiritual drum. I allow you to choose a person as your master, but this person has to be a member of our human race. If you don't agree, there's really no room for negotiation. I will definitely refine you. It wasn't that Han Fei hadn't thought of completely refining the creation void spiritual drum, but fifth senior brother had secretly told him that if the creation void spiritual drum was unwilling, even if he really took action, it would take at least thousands of years to refine a supreme nature treasure. Han Fei didn't have the time to wait. He couldn't break it, nor did he have the time to refine it. Threats and promises were useless, so he could only settle for the next best thing. Okay. This time, the creation void spiritual drum didn't refuse. After all, he had seen how the void temple dealt with Jiang Taishu. He was extremely disgusted. That Han Fei killed his master. It was just like how you had to acknowledge a thief as your father. It was difficult for him to accept it. But if it was the huge human race, he could have a choice. Han Fei said, I've already chosen a person for you. I want to find it myself. Han Fei sneered. The person I chose for you has mastered the sound of human Tao. She's the best musician in the human race and is kind-hearted. You will definitely not be disappointed. I want to see the person first. Han Fei formed a series of seals and recalled the 5-colored divine soil. The creation void spiritual drum was a little stunned. What was going on? Aren't you afraid that I'll attack you again? Han Fei sneered. You can have a try. The creation void spiritual drum snorted and asked, where is that person? Han Fei said, find it yourself. Jiuying Ling, sound-ending mountain, central Sea divine realm. If you don't like her, you can return. Of course, you can try escaping, but if I meet you again, I'll definitely kill you. Clank, clank, clank. Swish. The creation void spiritual drum disappeared without a trace in an instant. He hated Han Fei so much that he didn't want to see him for a second. Yulinka frowned. Little junior brother, do you trust him so much? Han Fei said, I have no choice. I won't really try to destroy a supreme nature treasure. Besides, there's really nothing I can do to him now. Fifth senior brother said, the person little junior brother chose shouldn't be bad. In short, the creation void spiritual drum is in the hands of our own people. It's a blessing. Yulinka sneered. If he really runs away, you too will be at a loss. Fifth senior brother laughed. Since he is not afraid of refining and has the pride to refuse little junior brother, he won't go back on his word. Cough, cough. Lu Renquang coughed and pouted at Han Fei. Han Fei turned his head with a smile and looked in the direction of Xia Shaochan and Han Chani, only to see that the two of them were staring at him and whispering very openly. Mom. Is Jiuying Ling his mistress? That's right. He rushed to give her a supreme nature treasure, but we, his wife and daughter, didn't get any. then this person is simply bad. Even worse than Uncle Yu. Cough, cough, cough. Zhang Xuanyu quickly coughed. Your family's business has nothing to do with me. It's really not easy to take care of children today. Han Fei felt a headache, and Yulinka couldn't help but laugh. The latter couldn't help but look at fifth senior brother. Fortunately, you are afraid of women. Fifth senior brother. Yulinka raised her head proudly and then said, little junior brother, you placed the entire human race on your origin star. What are you going to do next? Han Fei said indifferently, our war with the Central Sea Divine Realm is not over yet. As for how the Central Sea Divine Realm is doing now, we have to go out first. If possible, I hope that the divine descendants can temporarily ally with the human race and live in the West Wilderness. Han Fei had thought of returning to the infinite mining area, but since he had come to the West Wilderness, and there were countless opportunities in this place, although the conditions were relatively poor, it was beneficial to the growth of the human race. Besides, in the West Wilderness, there was the ferocious God Valley, the wild, ancient race, and now the divine descendants. The human race should be safer. Of course, this was not enough. He still had to set another record of the primordial tower. Only in this way could the human race be safe. Yulinka replied, the divine descendants are naturally willing to ally with the human race. This is indeed a good choice. At least, I'm afraid the Central Sea Divine Realm won't dare to invade the West Wilderness for the time being. Han Fei said, but the problem of the divine descendants still exists. This time, no one took out the Star Sea boundary map. If the divine descendants want to transcend the divine tribulation, I'm afraid you still have to consider it carefully. Yulinka snorted. Because you don't have to bring the map with you when you use the Star Sea boundary map. I've already thought about it. I'll take them to the Guardian Sea to transcend the tribulation. At this moment, Qiu Wanren and Luo Xiaobai seemed to have paused their discussion and walked over. Han Fei, I have something to discuss with you. Oh? Senior, please go on. Qiu Wanren said, as you know, the divine descendants are extremely short of resources. Can you give the origin stars of the dead powerhouses of the Central Sea Divine Realm to the divine descendants? In addition, the divine descendants want to take 70% of their treasures. Han Fei looked calm. Qiu Wanren shouldn't be asking for an exorbitant price out of thin air, so where did he get the confidence? Qiu Wanren continued, I'll give you something in exchange. Oh? What is it? This time, many strong masters from the Central Sea Divine Realm had died. There were 3 god-slaying level powerhouses and 18 gods. If the divine descendants emptied all their origin stars, it would be enough for them to have dozens of gods. Although he had a lot of resources, they might not be enough to completely refine his origin star. Qiu Wanren took out a small bottle with about 3 drops of shining liquid in it. Han Fei was puzzled. What is this? Blood of all gods. Han Fei raised his eyebrows. Is this the blood of all gods that the eternal race and the Central Sea Divine Realm are competing for? Even fifth senior brother couldn't help but say in surprise, the descendants of gods are really generous. Little junior brother, you've made a fortune from this deal. Han Fei couldn't help but ask, what is the blood of all gods? Fifth senior brother explained, back then, the divine descendants' divine heritage was extracted not just because they made a huge mistake, but also because of a deeper secret. Oh? Han Fei immediately perked up. Fifth senior brother explained, in the primordial era, in addition to the 3 temples, there were also some powerhouses. One of them was called the Patriarch of the Myriad Gods. He created a path of bloodline. By gathering the bloodlines of the gods, he refined a magical bloodline that was said to exceed the dominator level. This blood of all gods succeeded, but it didn't succeed either. Later, the Patriarch of the Myriad Gods fought the ominous 3 times without a winner. But for some reason, he suddenly embarked on that path and never returned. He embarked on that path too? Han Fei couldn't help but wonder, what kind of path is that? Why hasn't anyone returned? Fifth senior brother said, it's a path to an unknown place. No one knows what's on that road unless they step on that road in person to take a look. However, the blood of all gods is indeed magical. Although there are only 3 drops, no one can estimate its value. Han Fei immediately grinned. Senior Chiu, with our relationship, I can't be stingy with you. Just take as many as you can. If it's not enough, I'll give you some energy crystals. I got a lot of them from the Creation Star Compass just now. Chiu Wanren smiled. That's good. However, this blood of all gods contains infinite power and is filled with infinite divinity. You should be at least a divine realm powerhouse to try to use it. However, with your current strength, you can try fusing a drop. If it doesn't work, don't forcibly fuse it. Of course. After all, it's for dominator-level powerhouses. Han Fei was not stupid. He could get more resources. Besides, he did have a lot of energy crystals, so he could go to the ferocious God Valley to exchange them for other resources. However, even Jiang Taichu was coveting the blood of all gods. How could the origin stars of some gods compare to it? Besides, if the blood of all gods was really as precious as Fifth Senior Brother said, Chiu Wanren probably had other purposes. Han Fei couldn't help but say, Senior, you're quite generous. Chiu Wanren said, at this point, what's there to be stingy with? You haven't seen the ominous war of the primordial era. If you have, you will know that at that time, no matter what it was, you could afford it, let alone the blood of all gods. Besides, instead of being coveted by others, I might as well give it to you. Han Fei accepted the blood of the gods and sighed in his heart. He had never thought of taking this thing from the beginning. He even thought that this thing was just used to revive the bloodline of the divine descendants. He didn't expect this good thing to fall into his hands. Of course, Han Fei wasn't the only one who was stunned. Sound-ending mountain, Central Sea Divine Realm. Jiuyin Ling was standing on a lone peak, playing a flute. Her white clothes were as white as snow, and her clothes fluttered in the wind. In fact, she had a lot of experience in the mortal world, but no matter how much experience she had, there was always an otherworldly aura on her that was really difficult to wear down. In the end, she just let it go. Suddenly, in front of Jiuyin Ling, a demonic sound vibrated, directly breaking the faint celestial sound of the creation void divine flute. A trace of blood oozed out of the corner of Jiuyin Ling's mouth, but she didn't panic. She just quietly looked at the peculiar large drum with a round and flat shape in front of her. The drum vibrated, and in the next moment, it actually spoke. With the method of resonance, you can guide the mystic sounds of the world to reach the state of being one with the heavens and fuse laws with the body. You little girl. You're quite talented. What a pity. Jiao Yingling tried to contact the outside world, but in the next moment, she felt that her perception was sealed and she lost contact with her origin star. Who are you? Since he couldn't resist it, it meant that the power of the drum far exceeded his and even suppressed the creation void divine flute. Since she couldn't break free, fear was meaningless. I'm here to kill you. Someone wants to transcend the divine tribulation, but there's an inner demon in his heart, so he ordered me to kill you. Jiao Yingling blinked and didn't speak. Seeing this, the creation void spiritual drum said, "You don't have any reaction?" Jiao Yingling said calmly, "What reaction do I need? Aren't you afraid of death?" Jiao Yingling, "Yes." "Then why is your reaction like this? Will you kill me?" Jiao Yingling asked. "Of course. Han Fei told me himself. I'm a supreme nature treasure. How can I break my promise?" Puff. Jiao Yingling couldn't help but smile. "Senior supreme nature treasure, then do it." Are you crazy?" Jiao Yingling smiled. "Okay, senior, don't lie to me. If he wants to kill me too, prove his Tao, so what if I die? Senior, do you have anything to tell me at this moment?" The creation void spiritual drum. "Why would I lie to a little girl like you? I have a habit of listening to the groans and laments of others before they die. If you play a song on me, I will remember your voice, and this is your great honor." With that, the creation void spiritual drum flew to Jiao Yingling and floated quietly. He said, "I have 15 layers of mystic sounds, and every layer has 7 layers of sound rhythms. You only have half an hour." Jiao Yingling smiled as her white and tender fingertips gently slid across the body of the creation void spiritual drum. Boom, boom, boom. 15 seconds later, a faint mystic sound echoed from the top of the mountain. The rhythm was sometimes soothing and light, and sometimes faintly sad. It was the love of a lifetime, the lingering pain, and the messy thoughts that couldn't be sorted out, which rose and fell between the heavens and earth. The asterisk starred, "I knew that Han Fei wasn't a good person." The drum suddenly stopped, and the creation void spiritual drum shook the void, making the entire sound-ending mountain tremble. Jiao Yingling, "He is a good person, a very good person." "Nonsense. If he's a good person, how can you play such a melody?" Jiao Yingling couldn't help blinking. "Senior, aren't you here to kill me?" "Humph. I'm in a good mood today. I'll kill you in a few days." "Oh, in that case, I'll go back to the mountain first. This place was shaking just now. If I don't go back, my master will be worried." The creation void spiritual drum. 3433, cultivating in seclusion for 300 years, reborn, 1. Half a year later. The defeat of the Central Sea Divine Realm couldn't be hidden. Now that the army of the Central Sea Divine Realm had all retreated, the other 4 divine realms had already begun to pressure the Central Sea Divine Realm. Some of the strength of the Central Sea Divine Realm had already secretly contacted the major forces of the 4 divine realms. This reshuffling of the Sea Realm had quietly begun at this moment. In the eyes of many people, the Central Sea Divine Realm actually only existed in name. Now, only someone needed to completely light the last fuse. However, as the saying went, a starving camel was still bigger than a horse. The Central Sea Divine Realm seemed to have suffered heavy losses this time, and even lost 4 supreme nature treasures. But don't forget, a sea quelling God had once taken action. The four divine realms didn't dare to really join forces to try to overthrow the rule of the top forces in the Central Sea divine realm. Therefore, they still needed to wait patiently for this fuse, which was Han Fei. However, at this moment, Han Fei was still busy working for the human race to settle down in the West Wilderness. Han Fei wasn't familiar with the West Wilderness, but the divine descendants were. They had already found a place not far from the dead soul Gobi, relatively close to the wild ancient race, suitable for a temporary rest. At this moment, Ferocious God Valley, Primordial Tower. When Han Fei's name covered the challenge of one of the 7 major trials, the Primordial Giant Beast trial, it immediately shocked the entire Ferocious God Valley. On the top floor of the Primordial Tower, the bandit god was drinking fruit juice against the wall of the tower, and Han Fei was also drinking a cup of fruit juice. The Primordial Tower said leisurely, "Actually, your strength can't be measured by the great monarch realm. I made an exception for you this time." Han Fei said, "But I'm still a great monarch. This hasn't changed." "It doesn't matter if I pass the other trials or not. You should understand what I mean. The human race is temporarily living in the West Wilderness. If anything happens, I'll have to trouble you to protect them. You're already on the list. I'll take action when I need to. What I'm curious about is how you won in the end." Han Fei said, "It involves secrets, so I won't reveal too much. I can only say that the Central Sea Divine Realm will definitely lose." "Boring," the Primordial Tower muttered. Han Fei asked again, "What's the Primordial Mystic Trial among the 7 trials of the Primordial Tower?" Han Fei asked, "Are there no conditions to open it?" Han Fei thought to himself, "You're still angry?" Then he looked at the bandit god and said, "Senior, the human race has a large population. We may have to trouble you in the future." The bandit god said indifferently, "You just need to follow the order of the Ferocious God Valley. However, if the entire human race comes, the Ferocious God Valley won't be able to accommodate them all. The premise is that they are, at least in the Sea Establishment realm. Those below don't have to come." Han Fei nodded. "Got it." The bandit god seemed to think of something and then added, "Although there are many opportunities in the West Wilderness, there are also many dangers. The human race in the West Wilderness has to adapt to the rules of the West Wilderness. As far as I know, the human race is not strong at the moment. It can even be said to be a little weak." Han Fei said, "Thank you for your reminder, Senior. Although the human race is weak, it grows very fast. I believe that it won't be long before the human race returns to the stage of history." Another half a year passed. Han Fei, Zhang Xuanyu, and the others each left a series of inheritances and even many techniques in the Thug Academy. Han Fei promoted the arena culture of the Ferocious God Valley and encouraged everyone to participate. On the other side, the human race and the divine descendants had formed an alliance, and Han Fei had helped the divine descendants a lot, so on the divine descendants' side, many strong masters were happy to help the human race gain experience. Han Fei couldn't guess the effect of this racial conflict between gods and humans, but it would definitely promote the overall strength of the human race. As for Yulinka, with the help of 5th senior brother, she shared vitality and transcended the divine tribulation together with him, so she became the only sea-quelling god after the awakening of the divine descendants. In a short period of time, with Yulinka and Qiu Wanren around, they could protect the human race and the divine descendants. when the divine descendants had more gods, this place would be even safer. As for Old Fears, he came back once after the war in the West Wilderness ended. However, when he returned, he was seriously injured. It was said that he was besieged by two sea-quelling gods who even used two supreme nature treasures. After Han Fei helped Old Fierce recover most of his injuries, the latter left alone, saying that he was looking for a secret place to truly recover his strength. Therefore, whether it was the human race or the divine descendants, what they needed most now was time. They needed to recuperate and cultivate. However, all of this required resources. Although there were infinite opportunities in the West Wilderness, not everyone could obtain them, and there was no opportunity that could directly benefit a race. Han Fei consumed most of the energy crystals collected from the creation star compass to give the current human race the capital to establish themselves in the West Wilderness. This was Han Fei's limit. He knew that the resources he had were not enough to help the entire human race rise. Therefore, if the human race wanted to rise, they had to occupy the Central Sea Divine Realm. On this day, Han Fei announced that he would cultivate in seclusion for a certain period of time. Zhang Xuanyu, Xia Xiaochan, Zhang Xuanyu, Luo Xiaobai, and the others all cultivated in seclusion with Han Fei. In Han Fei's origin star, Xia Xiaochan and the others needed time to polish themselves and break through to the great monarch realm. 3434, cultivating in seclusion for 300 years, reborn, 2. As for Han Fei, he naturally continued to refine the star core. However, he only had 1.02 million refined stars left. He exchanged another 500,000 energy crystals in the ferocious God Valley, but it was still not enough. Whenever he didn't have enough resources, Han Fei's first reaction was to rob the Central Sea Divine Realm. However, Luo Xiaobai reminded him that if he conquered the Central Sea Divine Realm, he would have everything. Why would he risk his life under the nose of the sea-quelling gods now? What Luo Xiaobai meant was that with so many strong masters in the Void Temple, he could borrow some resources from them and repay them after taking down the Central Sea Divine Realm. Han Fei agreed and tried to contact Senior Brother Six God, who was about to transcend the tribulation. As the overlord of the North Sea, he should have some wealth. As he expected, Senior Brother Six God was easier to talk to and told Han Fei to go to the North Sea Divine Realm to get 2 million refined stars. In this way, Han Fei had as many as 3.52 million refined stars. This was already an astronomical figure. Han Fei didn't believe that he couldn't refine the star core with this. This cultivation lasted for nearly 200,000 years. Although Han Fei stacked laws very quickly, the law fusion speed was not that fast. After all, he was slowly fusing laws by refining his origin star, pushing himself to the peak of the great monarch realm. 200 years had passed in the outside world. Xia Xiaochan and the others had already left. Unlike Han Fei, they didn't need to cultivate in seclusion for such a long time. In less than 20,000 years, the four of them comprehended it one after another, and went out to break through to the great monarch realm. Even Han Song's loose life forms had already spread throughout the entire origin star. Furthermore, because of a large number of soul-purifying pearls, in the past 200 years, Han Song had built a vast demon plant forest in the Sea of Sand of the West Wilderness alone. As for Han Song, his strength had naturally reached the great monarch realm. On this day, when there were only less than 180,000 refined stars left around, Han Fei, his heart finally became clear. He had completely fused 100,000 laws. This meant that his star core had been fully tempered. Han Fei immediately looked at his information, which appeared in his eyes. Owner, Han Fei. Level, 119, Great Monarch. Bloodline ranking among the clans in the Infinite Ocean, the 792nd. Immortal Chi, 6, 865, 48. Soul, 2, 795, 23. Origins. Strength, 279,523 star powers. First Spiritual Heritage, Origin Spiritual Heritage. Second Spiritual Heritage, Eternal Darkness Spiritual Heritage. First Spiritual Beast, Twin Yin-Yang Sky Swallowing Fish, Level 119. Second Spiritual Beast, Emperor Sparrow, Level 119. Main Art, God-Fiend Body. Yes, when he saw this combat power, Han Fei was slightly stunned. The effect of refining the star core was terrifying. Seeing this combat power, Han Fei couldn't help cursing the god of war. If he was so strong, what about the god of war? The god of war didn't have dual spiritual heritages, so the number of laws he stacked shouldn't be as many as his. Therefore, the basic combat power of the god of war should be lower than his. That's not right. I don't feel the limit of my strength. My soul and strength seem to be able to break through. It's my physique. Yes, although my flesh, blood, and bones are imperceptibly becoming stronger, it's not enough. Han Fei couldn't help but feel hopeful again. He immediately activated his original Great Tao. I can carry 4 times my combat power now, but 5 times is extremely difficult. No, since I'm going to reach the peak of the Great Monarch realm, I have to completely carry 10 times my combat power. Han Fei's heart was burning. If he could continue to become stronger, he might be able to cross the barrier of 300,000 combat power. However, when Han Fei saw the resources he had left, he frowned. The upper limit of the Supreme Divine Technique was indeed very high, but the amount of resources needed was also extremely terrifying. 180,000 refined stars were clearly not enough to temper his body to that extent. It seems that I can only use the Dragon Blood Soul Pearl? Tempering the body was extremely troublesome. If he was given thousands of years in the outside world, he was completely confident that his body and bones could carry 10 times his combat power. But he didn't have the time, so the Dragon Blood Soul Pearl was the best choice. After all, didn't the person in the dragon pool give the Dragon Blood Soul Pearl to him because he practiced the Supreme Divine Technique? Han Fei didn't hesitate. The Dragon Blood Soul Pearl might be precious, but his top priority was to become stronger. Otherwise, how could he wipe out the Central Sea Divine Realm? He couldn't just rely on Yulinka, right? Therefore, Han Fei, who had just finished his cultivation, continued to cultivate in seclusion. Sure enough, when his physique gradually became stronger, there was still room for his basic combat power to increase. However, when Han Fei's basic combat power reached the critical point of 300,000 combat power, it was finally stuck. Even if he continued to absorb the Dragon Blood Soul Pearl, it could only strengthen his physique and couldn't increase his combat power. This time, only 60,000 years later, the Dragon Blood Soul Pearl finally ran out of energy and shattered on the spot. And Han Fei's physique could carry more than 8 times, less than 9 times the limit of his combat power. In fact, Han Fei knew that he was already very strong. His peak combat power had reached the god-slaying level, but he could only be considered a beginner. In this realm, if he could carry 9 times his combat power, he should be able to be considered an ordinary god-slaying level powerhouse. Another 20,000 years later, after Han Fei refined the last 180,000 refined stars and some energy crystals, the capacity of his body finally reached 9 times his combat power. This time, if Han Fei was willing, his peak combat power could reach 2.7 million, which could be said to have soared. Is 300,000 basic combat power the limit of the supreme divine technique? Han Fei knew that the resources he could use at this moment had basically been exhausted. Even if he still had energy crystals and could become stronger, if his basic combat power was constant, he would only have 3 million combat power at most, which was still incomparable to a strong master like Qiu Wanren. 3435, cultivating in seclusion for 300 years, reborn, 3. With his current strength, if he swept through the Central Sea divine realm, he could at most fight a godly powerhouse. It was hard to say if he could kill a god-slaying level powerhouse. Even if he could, he would probably be entangled for a long time. Therefore, Han Fei was not in a hurry to leave. He still needed to find a way to study what else he had that could resist the Central Sea divine realm. It's not a bad strategy to sneak attack the strong masters of the Central Sea divine realm with the concealing divine seal. Han Fei thought to himself, however, once this kind of thing was caught by the strong, even if he had the concealing divine seal, he wouldn't be able to escape. Of course, Han Fei could also ask Senior Brother Six God and the others to take action. In that case, with the help of Yulinka and Old Fierce, there would be a total of 4 sea-quelling gods, which should be enough to flatten the Central Sea divine realm. However, Han Fei didn't want to do this unless he had to. This was because he wanted to avenge the human race himself. He wanted to seek justice for those dead people. He wanted the human race to step on the faces of all the strong masters in the Central Sea divine realm. At this point, there were not many ways for Han Fei to improve himself. He could either try to fuse with the blood of all gods now, or try to break the limit of the god-fiend body now. Suddenly, Han Fei's heart stirred. He suddenly wondered if he could continue to deduce void fishing. However, Han Fei had tried to deduce it for hundreds of years and studied void fishing over and over again, but he didn't find any advanced logic in void fishing. In the end, Han Fei could only give up this idea. It seems that I can only find a way to break the limit of the god-fiend body. Different from the Supreme Divine Book, the god-fiend body was deduced after all, so this technique itself still had room for cultivation. What was difficult was that after his soul and his body fused, there was no path. He could only think of a way to create the future path. The god-fiend body could only be cultivated by those with dual extreme Daos. This technique could be compatible with all Daos in the world. The soul and the physique were cultivated in the same body and revolved in the same veins. They fused, entangled, and transformed each other. In the end, the soul and the body fused. What was important was not to cultivate in the same body, but to fuse with each other and reach the realm of complete fusion. In the past, because he hadn't reached the peak of the dual extreme Tao, Han Fei didn't try this fusion. However, his combat power was already stuck at 300,000, which probably meant that his dual extreme Tao had reached the peak. Han Fei adapted to his current combat power and sat cross-legged again after only a few months. Dual extreme Tao cultivation guided the cultivation of the soul and physique through the operation of dual spiritual heritages. The fusion of the soul and the physique naturally happened through dual spiritual heritages. It needed to form a convergence of power at the place where the dual spiritual heritages converged. Buzz. When Han Fei tried it, he immediately felt that the two powers were mutually repulsive, like the two ends of a magnetic pole. Not to mention fusing with each other, even touching each other was very difficult. Huh? My soul and physique have no interaction at all. How should I fuse them? There was no specific way to operate the technique of the God-fiend body. Because in history, the God-fiend body was already the end of this path of cultivation. It could no longer be deduced. In the past, some people might have walked this path, but they might not have reached the peak of the dual extreme Tao, or they left no experience for him to refer to, so Han Fei had to figure out the future path himself. He was cultivating in seclusion for a long time. Han Fei was not in a hurry to study the last step of the God-fiend body in one go. He spent more than 3,000 years deliberating the cultivation concept of the God-fiend formless technique and the God-fiend body. In the past 3,000 years, Han Fei had been thinking about a problem, which was that the God-fiend formless technique and the subsequent God-fiend body could actually fuse the soul and the physique. Then his previous idea that he had to walk the dual extreme Tao to the extreme to fuse it was wrong. This also meant that both he and the demon god had neglected something from the beginning. Han Fei felt that this neglected thing was the key to unlocking the cultivation method of the God-fiend body. On this day, as usual, Han Fei lay on his origin star with his eyes closed, thinking. Buzz. Suddenly, Han Fei felt that Zhang Daqian had broken through to the great monarch realm. Han Fei wasn't surprised, because Zhang Daqian's information was synchronized with his. Coupled with hundreds of thousands of years of cultivation and the baptism of the path of reincarnation, it would be strange if he didn't make a breakthrough. Han Fei even felt that when Zhang Daqian and Han Song both reached the peak of the great monarch realm, if he tried to combine with them, his strength might be able to break through the 300,000 shackles of the great monarch realm. However, he also felt that it would be a loss if he did that. After all, after he quickly became stronger, he could lead them to become stronger together. If he became a god-slaying level or a sea-quelling god, his comprehension would definitely accelerate the cultivation of his avatars. Han Fei waved his hand, and a large number of energy crystals, as well as half of the chaotic qi, immortal qi, and even spiritual energy in his origin star, surged towards Zhang Daqian. He had no choice. He didn't have many resources left and still owed Senior Brother 6 God 2 million refined stars. If Zhang Daqian continued to cultivate, he might be forced to come out of seclusion to get resources. Suddenly, when countless energy crystals flew out, Han Fei saw that he still had a batch of abnormally shining energy crystals. It was a pile of level 7 and level 8 energy crystals. 3436, cultivating in seclusion for 300 years, reborn, 4. He didn't dare to touch these energy crystals because Senior Brother Azure Dragon had used a large number of energy crystals above level 7 when he transcended the divine tribulation. If he transcended the divine tribulation, he would have to probably use them too, so he had been keeping them. Han Fei casually waved his hand and grabbed the energy crystals. Han Fei didn't have any special thoughts, but he was so busy cultivating that he forgot to see what was different about these powerful energy crystals. What greeted his eyes was a level 8 energy crystal. Information popped up. Name: level 8 energy crystal. Introduction: the only pure energy crystal core in the body of a god. Slaying level ominous creature. It contains a large amount of power and soul. Power: a massive amount of chaotic chi, a massive amount of vitality, and a massive amount of ownerless souls that can be directly absorbed. It contains a large amount of pure heavenly Tao laws and can be directly used for cultivation. Quality: God-slaying level. Contained divine sources, greater than 18,682 wisps. Contained chaotic chi, greater than 36 million wisps. Ownerless souls contained greater than 49,600 origins. Vitality greater than 60 million years. Absorbable. Note 1: Strength divine source can only be absorbed after the divine source is born. Note 2: The ownerless souls and ominous creatures are completely attributeless and can be absorbed directly without side effects. Note 3: Pure laws of the heavenly Tao that can be applied to any law. Buzz. Han Fei suddenly sat up. His eyelids trembled as he quickly looked at the other level 8 or even level 7 energy crystals. However, he found a problem. These energy crystals contain different divine sources. All level 8 energy crystals had both soul divine sources and strength divine sources. However, as long as it was a level 7 energy crystal, it contained only one kind of divine source, which was either a strength divine source or a soul divine source. What does this mean? Swish. With a thought, Han Fei left his origin star and immediately found Qiu Wanren, who was preaching. Seeing Han Fei, Qiu Wanren couldn't help but look him up and down. You're out of seclusion? You seem to have become much stronger. Han Fei hurriedly said, Senior, I have a question that I need you to answer. For me. Qiu Wanren smiled and said, What question? I'm not bragging, but my wisdom is not something ordinary people can compare to. Han Fei said, After you became a god, did your comprehensive power all transform into soul divine sources? Qiu Wanren nodded. Of course. Han Fei asked, Did you still have any strength divine source left back then? Qiu Wanren said, You should know that the path I walk is actually a kind of extreme Tao. Even if there is a strength divine source, it has been transformed into soul divine source. Transform? Han Fei didn't pay attention to this detail. Then if a great monarch who walks the Tao of balance becomes a god, will he have both the strength divine source and the soul divine source? Qiu Wanren was puzzled. Yes, but he can't preserve the power of two divine sources at the same time. Why? Because no one in this world can achieve a true extreme balance. Then the strength divine source and strength divine source can't be truly balanced. This is one of the reasons. Secondly, the divine power of a god comes from divine sources, and divine sources come from the divine persona. And a divine persona means shackles. Then why is a divine persona called the shackles of a god? Why? This is because the divine persona will forcibly transform the strength divine source and the soul divine source into each other. For example, after you become a god, if your strength divine source is very strong, your soul divine source will be weak. Then, the divine persona will guide the soul divine source to transform into the strength divine source. This is irreversible. This is the shackle. Han Fei nodded slightly, deep in thought, and then asked, So, after breaking through the shackles, although the divine persona is gone, the strength divine source and soul divine source will both return? Wrong. When you break the shackles and reach the god-slaying realm, if you want, you can condense a divine persona at any time. However, this kind of divine persona is different from the first one. It's a true divine power. You can strengthen your soul and physique by strengthening the divine persona, but it won't produce the compulsory transformation of divine sources. Han Fei's pupils were constricted slightly. So, the divine persona in the God realm is fake? Qiu Wanren smiled and said, "You can't say that. I've studied it for countless years. It can only be said that the divine persona of ordinary gods is incomplete, and there is a saying that the divine persona can be rebuilt after being broken. It's like being reborn." Han Fei thought for a moment. Then is there a possibility that the soul divine source and the strength divine source fuse? Qiu Wanren suddenly narrowed his eyes and looked at Han Fei deeply. This is what I'm studying now. It's a method for a god-slaying level cultivator to break through into a sea-quelling god. If you can do it, you will be a sea-quelling god. Han Fei was stunned and couldn't help but fantasize. Senior Brother Azure Dragon transcended the divine tribulation, entered the god realm first, broke the divine persona, and killed a god-slaying level powerhouse, but in the end, he didn't see him become a sea-quelling god. However, when Lei Heng transcended the divine tribulation, his tribulation might not be considered a divine tribulation, because he was originally transformed from a lightning spirit. He fused the 4 lightning domains and swallowed them all into his body. It seemed to be a little like the fusion of strength divine sources and soul divine sources. In that case, was the God-fiend body a cultivation technique at the level of sea-quelling god in the first place? Han Fei asked, "Senior, have you ever thought about how to fuse these two divine sources?" Qiu Wanren shrugged. Everyone's path is different. If there are specific rules for breaking through to become a sea-quelling god and everyone imitates them, wouldn't there be many sea-quelling gods? You'd better focus on your present path first. 34-37, cultivating in seclusion for 300 years, reborn, 5. Han Fei nodded. "Senior, I'm going to cultivate in seclusion." Before Qiu Wanren could speak, Han Fei disappeared again with a swish. Qiu Wanren muttered, "Could it be that he has broken through the limit of the supreme divine technique and found a way to become a god? Isn't this too fast?" And this time, Han Fei already had an epiphany. His current soul and strength didn't have the enhancement of divinity, which meant that he didn't have the support of a divine persona. However, the specialness of the dual spiritual heritages made it possible for his soul power and physical power to fuse. Han Fei suddenly had a bold idea. He didn't have a divine persona, so he couldn't nurture divine sources and give birth to divinity. However, he happened to have the blood of all gods. As soon as he entered his origin star, Han Fei immediately took the blood of all gods. This thing was extremely divine. Anyway, he would try to fuse with it in the end. Why couldn't he use it to help cultivate the God-fiend body? Immediately, Han Fei poured out a drop of the blood of all gods and injected it into his body. At the same time, he activated the God-fiend body and gathered this drop of blood at the intersection of the origin spiritual heritage and the eternal darkness spiritual heritage. Buzz. As soon as the drop of blood was in position, it emitted a large amount of divine power, trying to affect his bloodline. However, Han Fei didn't use the blood of all gods to modify his bloodline. He injected his soul and strength into the blood of all gods at the same time. It was equivalent to a container with part of the effect of a divine persona, which was used to forcibly fuse these two powers. All of a sudden, Han Fei saw that the drop of blood began to tremble violently. At the same time, the power of his soul and power poured into the drop of blood uncontrollably. Even the qi, blood, and 10,000 laws in his body were sucked in. How can that be? The change of events was a little beyond Han Fei's expectations. He had planned to use the blood of all gods as a fake divine persona and the power of divinity in it to forcibly fuse his soul and power. However, the blood of all gods showed signs of losing control. Suppress! Han Fei roared and forcibly controlled the blood of all gods. 1 day. 2 days. This state lasted for about 3 years, and Han Fei discovered that the blood of all gods gradually began to wither. When the blood of all gods withered to a certain extent, Han Fei seemed to see a black spot wrapped in the blood of all gods. Not enough? At this moment, Han Fei had completely forgotten Qiu Wanren's instructions. Seeing that he had succeeded, nearly 50% of his strength had been injected into this drop of the blood of all gods. Now that the blood of all gods was about to be gone, how could he care about Qiu Wanren's warning? Immediately, Han Fei injected another drop of blood of all gods into his body. Sure enough, after injecting this drop of blood, Han Fei's state stabilized again. 5 years passed in a flash. If anyone else saw it, they would be extremely surprised that Han Fei's body had completely decayed. At this moment, the third drop of blood of all gods was almost exhausted. Han Fei's strength was almost all injected into the blood. At this moment, the third drop of blood was almost dry. Han Fei could only take a gamble and protect his original body with the law of life. After another 3 months, when Han Fei saw that the last trace of the blood of all gods had dried up, the nail-sized black hole finally appeared. Han Fei was lost for words. This thing absorbed all his power? But what would happen next? Bang! Just as Han Fei was thinking about how to activate the black hole, he saw a white light burst out of the black hole. This white light was filled with a power that Han Fei was not familiar with. It instantly enveloped his entire body and made him lose consciousness, leaving only a dry body sitting cross-legged on his origin star. 500 years later. Crack! A golden light cracked from Han Fei's rotten body, and a fair hand slowly stuck out of the rotten body. How did it become like this? Han Fei cursed. As soon as he woke up, he felt that he was trapped in an extremely narrow ball cage. At this moment, when he crawled out of his rotten body, he was stunned. He looked at his decayed body, swallowed, and looked down at his new body. His skin was smooth and fair and seemed to be fragile. But as long as he exerted a little strength, mysterious Tao patterns would appear on his skin, and his body was instantly filled with the beauty of muscles. Han Fei raised his hand, and a mirror appeared in front of him. Looking at himself in the mirror that seemed to have been beautified, Han Fei heaved a long sigh of relief. His skin was whiter, and his bones seemed to have changed slightly. They were not much different from before, but the ratio was more perfect. What is this? Rebirth? Reincarnation? Han Fei came back to himself and immediately looked at his information. However, what he saw stunned him. Information popped up in his eyes. Owner, Han Fei. Level, 119, Great Monarch. Bloodline ranking among the clans in the Infinite Ocean, the second. Origin power, 6, 0, 12, 24. First spiritual heritage, origin spiritual heritage. Second spiritual heritage, eternal darkness spiritual heritage. First spiritual beast, twin yin-yang sky-swallowing fish, level 119. Second spiritual beast, emperor sparrow, level 119. Main art, god-fiend body. Han Fei never expected to be ranked second in the infinite ocean in terms of bloodline. Of course, he knew that the blood of all gods was very powerful, but he didn't expect it to be so powerful. It actually raised his bloodline to the second place in the entire infinite ocean. This level of bloodline had even exceeded that of the Emperor Sparrow, Little Black and Little White. Han Fei felt the surging blood in his body, which contained the power of divinity and could continuously give birth to divine power. In a sense, he could no longer be considered a great monarch, but a god. As for whether this bloodline had other uses, Han Fei didn't know. He was also very stunned at this moment. Compared to bloodline, Han Fei was more concerned about source power, because the appearance of this power directly replaced the power of the soul and the original power system. Is this the power after the fusion of soul and body? With a thought, Han Fei crossed the star sea quagmire and appeared in the sea of stars in the next moment. He casually punched out a dazzling golden light. At the moment he punched out, he felt that his origin spiritual heritage and the eternal darkness spiritual heritage were both triggered, and soul power and physical power instantly fused into the black hole. Then, the two powers were transformed into a brand new power. Not only did his combat power soar, but it also carried the power of divinity. Furthermore, this power seemed to be fused with the power of various laws, a little like the Ragnarok, comprehended by the demon god. The Ragnarok was a technique of dual killing of body and soul. And now, after he comprehended this source power, a random punch of his could achieve the effective dual killing of body and soul even without using the Ragnarok. To put it bluntly, the power of this punch might not be much stronger than before, but once it was associated with the dual killing of body and soul, the lethality might be several times greater than before. Besides, Han Fei could feel that the combat power of his punch was really 600,000 points. This meant that source power was indeed the effect of soul power and strength superimposed. If that was the case, Han Fei's eyes lit up, and he immediately activated his original Great Tao. In the next moment, he was excited. He had thought that although he had increased the carrying capacity of his physique to 9 times with difficulty, now he could probably only carry about 4 or 5 times. However, to his surprise, he could still use 9 times his combat power. What did this mean? If he used his full strength, he could immediately unleash more than 5 million combat power. How could this be possible? In shock, Han Fei began to think about the hidden secret. He punched the sea of stars one punch after another, feeling the way the source power circulated and the state of the power he punched out. It didn't take long for him to understand. It turned out that the composition of source power was still physical power and soul power. However, the power of the soul didn't need his body to carry it, so what Han Fei needed to carry was still the pure physical power. I see. This also meant that if it was only the capacity of the body, it was still 2.7 million star powers. But after his body and his soul were fused, it could carry 5.4 million points of source power. Han Fei couldn't help but realize that his current state was very special, a little similar to Fifth Senior Brothers. He was like a sea-quelling god who hadn't transcended the divine tribulation. The only difference between him and the God realm now was that he hadn't transcended the divine tribulation or obtained the approval of the heavenly Tao. After realizing his current state, Han Fei suppressed his happiness, because the source power at this moment told him that there was still room for improvement. This was because he was no longer stuck at 300,000 combat power. Otherwise, his source power would only be stuck at 600,000, not more. And this should be the path behind the supreme divine technique. After all, Han Fei had already mastered the God-fiend body. This path shouldn't bring him any further improvement. Then, it was only possible that he accidentally touched the path behind the supreme divine technique, so he broke the original bottleneck. However, he didn't remember cultivating the supreme divine technique during this period of seclusion. Besides, the origin star created by the supreme divine technique had been completely fused by him. Wait, no. Han Fei suddenly realized that he didn't need to cultivate the supreme divine technique. As long as he embarked on the path of the supreme divine technique, he would keep becoming stronger until his body and soul couldn't withstand the continuous power of the supreme divine technique anymore and finally exploded. Obviously, under normal circumstances, he might have more combat power at this moment, but he should seal this part of combat power, just like the god of war. However, he didn't feel that his body couldn't carry it. Even when he activated his original Great Tao, he didn't feel that he had reached the limit. Therefore, if he guessed right, this additional power should have been something he accidentally did when he lost consciousness, or something he triggered at the moment the black hole erupted. However, Han Fei really had no idea about the supreme divine technique at all. Although he wanted to continue to study it, he didn't know how long he had been asleep. It had been more than 200 years. What if he slept for 3 or 500 years? Buzz. When Han Fei appeared in the outside world, he immediately synchronized information with Han Song and Zhang Daqian. Han Fei was relieved. Fortunately, it seems that I haven't slept for long. I've only been in seclusion for 302 years. Have you finished your cultivation? As soon as Han Fei appeared, Yulinka appeared beside him. Yulinka looked Han Fei up and down and couldn't help but ask in shock. Have you become a god? Yulinka couldn't help but heave a sigh of relief. I thought you had broken the limit of the supreme divine technique. You're full of divine power. No matter how I look at you, you look like a god, not a great monarch. Han Fei couldn't help but feel a little embarrassed. He hadn't stabilized his current strength much, so it was inevitable that he couldn't control it well. After all, in this seclusion, his peak combat power was much stronger. From his original peak combat power of 900,000 to his current peak combat power of 5.4 million, he was 6 times stronger. This level of improvement inevitably needed to be stabilized and adapted. Otherwise, he would be like now, with divinity dissipating all over his body. Reminded by Yulinka, Han Fei knew that he couldn't cultivate anymore. He had to adapt to his current strength first. However, there was no need for him to continue cultivating in seclusion at this time. After all, the resources had been exhausted, leaving only level 7 and level 8 energy crystals. Even if he cultivated in seclusion again, he had to have resources. Han Fei couldn't help but explain, maybe it's because I took the blood of all gods. Yulinka narrowed her eyes. More than that, right? I heard that your blood is surging and your chi and blood are strong. Besides, you've changed completely. Is this because of the blood of all gods? Does improving your bloodline have the effect of rebirth? Han Fei smiled and said, of course, my strength has also improved a little. By the way, sister-in-law, can I ask what your current combat power is? It's that ambiguous power. Soul, you know. Yulinka said, see quelling gods, and god-slaying level cultivators. Maybe a little different in combat power. It's a realm where power and soul are fused. How should I put it? Kill both the body and the soul? Han Fei spoke for Yulinka. Yulinka immediately nodded. That's right. Little junior brother, you're quite perceptive. Is that so? Han Fei casually pinched a thunder ball in his palm. Yulinka was shocked to see it. In the next moment, fifth senior brother appeared in front of Han Fei with a wine calabash and looked at Han Fei a bit in depression. Little junior brother, have you mastered the power of the sea-quelling god level? Han Fei asked, is this really the power of the sea-quelling god level? Fifth senior brother looked at the thunder ball and nodded quickly. That's right. Although the power you used is relatively weak, it's definitely at the level of a sea-quelling god. Once you use a secret method, such as the dragon ball you used before, you can immediately exert the combat power of a sea-quelling god. However, please go on. Fifth senior brother hesitated for a moment and said, the state of your power is surprisingly stable. Under normal circumstances, at the level of the sea-quelling god, after fusing the soul and the body with divinity as the foundation, the state of your power can't be particularly stable. After all, these two powers are repulsive in themselves, but the divinity born at the level of the sea-quelling god is pure, so it can temporarily act as a carrier. Han Fei's heart stirred. He didn't feel unstable at all, nor did he need to use divinity as a carrier. But he felt that all of this might have been completed in the black hole. Han Fei asked, so, fifth senior brother, do you have a measure of combat power? For example, what's your current power? Once you become a sea-quelling god, when you fight, your soul and power will fuse, and the combat power you can unleash will be about 7 to 9 million. As your strength continues to become stronger, well, the strongest veteran sea-quelling god will have higher combat power. As for the upper limit, I'm not sure. So high? Han Fei couldn't help but click his tongue and then ask, senior brother, what about you? Fifth senior brother didn't hide it. After all, Han Fei had already cultivated source power, so it was necessary to measure the strength of the sea-quelling god. Fifth senior brother said, more than 28 million. How much? Han Fei's eyes widened in disbelief. Fifth senior brother said, after all, I'm not a beginner at the sea-quelling god level, so my reference isn't very meaningful. Han Fei. The corners of Yulinka's mouth twitched. Show off. Don't scare your little junior brother. Little junior brother, don't think that all the sea-quelling gods are like him. Most people who have just entered the sea-quelling god level might only have combat power of about 8 million. For example, I'm not as strong as him, only less than 9 million. Han Fei. Han Fei really wanted to roll his eyes at them. He had just thought that he had already reached the sea-quelling god realm. But he didn't expect him to be the weakest among the sea-quelling gods. It was easy for a sea-quelling god to have the combat power of 8 or 9 million. For a freak like fifth senior brother, his combat power was at least 15 million. This gap was really huge. Fifth senior brother said, in any case, when you really reach the sea, quelling God level, you can't completely use this combat power as a standard. After all, the great Daos and laws everyone grasps are different, the level of secret techniques is different, and the degree of control of source power is also different. It's not easy to define the strength of sea quelling gods. Hanfei hurriedly said, okay, I understand. Fifth senior brother, sister-in-law, I have no more questions. I just came out of seclusion and need to prepare. By the way, sister-in-law, what's the situation in the Central Sea? Divine realm now? Hanfei smiled and said, what can we do? Of course, just fight them back. In fact, the battle in the sea realm is nothing more than the business of those sea quelling gods. Perhaps someone is watching from the Sea of Stars, but they didn't care about it before. Now that the Central Sea Divine Realm has suffered a setback, they can't just come out to meddle. The Divine Descendants have already won this round. If they knew what was good for them, they would have quit the Central Sea Divine Realm long ago. Yulinka also showed a rare fighting intent. Okay, the Divine Descendants have been preparing for this battle for 300 years. In the past 300 years, there were 32 Divine Descendants who transcended the Divine Tribulation. If it weren't for the limited resources, this number could have been more. However, it should be enough to deal with the current Central Sea Divine Realm. Hanfei nodded and suddenly said, what I'm more curious about is why the people from the Central Sea Divine Realm didn't escape when they knew that they would definitely be defeated. Logically speaking, after the Battle of the Divine Descendants, they should have chosen a chance to retreat from the Central Sea Divine Realm. Why did they have to stay in the Central Sea Divine Realm? Aren't they looking for a beating? Fifth senior brother smiled and said, the Central Sea Divine Realm is prosperous and full of talents. They have been in charge of this place for countless years and have made deep plans. How can they give it up so easily? If the Central Sea Divine Realm fights to the death for this battle, it will really become a super civil war that sweeps the sea realm. This is something many people in the Sea of Stars don't want to see. Hanfei asked, will they take action? Fifth senior brother thought for a moment. If this battle lasts long enough to destroy countless cultivation forces in the entire Central Sea Divine Realm, they will take action. Hanfei said, I don't know how serious it is, but I don't care. The Divine Demon Forest, the ancient demon race, the heavenly spider-worm valley, the Light City, and the chaotic divine race. We have to settle scores with them. I can't just let them off. I think the Divine Descendants should be the same. Right? Yulinka nodded. Of course. 8 million Divine Descendants tried to survive just for this day. No one can stop our determination to take revenge. Hanfei grinned. Sister-in-law, since we're going to fight, let's fight in earth-shaking victory so that no one in this world can resist us anymore. Then, Hanfei looked at fifth senior brother and said, Senior brother, senior sister Shenle said that she wanted to unify the sea realm. We are not the kings of the myriad races, so we can't make the myriad races in the sea realm united. Therefore, we can only suppress them by force. In that case, I won't interfere in the matters of the Sea of Stars. I just care about the sea realm. Gulp ah. Fifth senior brother took a big sip of the wine. It's up to you. If possible, try not to involve some ordinary creatures. Half a day later. In an uninhabited forbidden area in the West Wilderness, a certain place was shrouded in clouds, and rays of light overflowed. A half-human, half-beast and extremely ferocious-looking powerhouse was entrenched here. Under his feet, there were many bones in all directions. There was even the skeleton of a god. But at this moment, even the slightest divine runes had disappeared. Senior. Han Fei stepped into the void and cupped his hands. The battle in the central Sea Divine Realm is about to begin. Senior, have you recovered your strength? Old Fear slowly opened his eyes, and killing intent rippled out. How are we going to fight them? Han Fei said, Senior, you can take action when you think it proper. Han Fei said, I know. This time, no one in the Sea of Stars will stop us. Han Fei didn't know how Old Fierce was locked up in the Creation Divine prison, but he was indeed very murderous. Even though he had been locked up for countless years, it didn't seem to change. However, this was good. Old Fierce was also one of the ancestors of the divine descendants, so he naturally stood on the side of the divine descendants. When he suppressed the sea realm, there would be no war in the sea realm. If Old Fierce was still killing wantonly in the sea realm, he would have to keep him in check. Old Distanceless. Swish. The Distanceless gate appeared again, and Han Fei said, Do you know about the last war in the West Wilderness? Some words immediately appeared on the Distanceless gate. I don't know. Han Fei smiled. Then let me tell you about it. After a while, perhaps because Han Fei's story was too exciting, the Distanceless gate kept shaking. Han Fei said leisurely, Look, your help is meaningful. The creation star compass contains billions of ominous creatures. After this battle, all of them have been erased. Jiang Taichu almost became the second ominous, who was also destroyed by our void temple. So? I'm not bragging, but you won't suffer a loss at all if you choose to help me. Now, I'm going to start reorganizing the sea realm. After this battle, it will be time for all races to unite to resist the ominous. After fooling the Distanceless gate, Han Fei had achieved his goal. At this moment, the Distanceless gate trembled slightly and seemed a little excited. Han Fei said, Old Distanceless, to the North Sea Divine Realm. Old Distanceless, go to the East Sea Divine Realm. Old Distanceless, go to the South Sea. Old Distanceless, return to the West Wilderness. In the human race's cities. The human race was an extremely adaptable race. No matter what environment it was, they could adapt. Especially for these humans that Han Fei had brought out of the Raging Sea. They had once stayed in the Raging Sea. Compared to the past environment, they actually enjoyed the current environment very much. The group of elite disciples of the Thug Academy seemed to have just returned from an exploration. Luo Xiaobai was checking their results on this trip. They had no choice. If the war against the Central Sea Divine Realm didn't start, the human race could only stay in the West Wilderness. Luo Xiaobai and the others would go to the ferocious God Valley to gain experience in the first few years, but after becoming great monarchs, they needed to fuse laws. And for them, the best state of law fusion was to gain experience in the mortal world. Luo Xiaobai's choice was the most direct. She chose to return to the Thug Academy to teach. Lu Renquang opened a huge food inn in the human race. Every day, people came and went. There were all kinds of customers visiting here. In their eyes, Lu Renquang was just a boss who was not weak. Zhang Xuanyu directly controlled 30% of the arena of the human race and dug Talents everywhere all day long. Yes, for him, finding talents was more meaningful than the arena. The controversial figures in every arena were very unique. Of course, Zhang Xuanyu seemed to quite like the feeling of being a big brother. As for Xia Xiaochan, she ran around. She was passionate about fighting. Most of the time, she explored the dangerous places in the West Wilderness with the human exploration teams. When she was free, she would wander around the Thug Academy and the arena and take Han Chani to gain experience. On this day, everyone was busy. All of a sudden, in the sky above the human habitat, layers of sky curtains opened, and Han Fei's figure appeared in the sky curtain. My fellow human beings, I am Human Emperor Han Fei. If you don't mind, you can put down what you're doing and listen to me nagging. Buzz. In an instant, the entire human race was in an uproar, and countless people were surprised. 300 years ago, Han Fei appeared and brought the human race to the West Wilderness. 300 years later, Han Fei appeared again. The first thing people thought was that a war was coming again. It wasn't that the human race didn't know about the battle 300 years ago. After all, 8 million divine descendants had witnessed that battle. It was said that Han Fei resisted 3 god-slaying level powerhouses for supreme nature treasures, and 18 gods from the Central Sea divine realm alone. In the end, he killed 2 god-slaying level powerhouses with a knife and a sword. When countless human beings first heard about it, they were shocked. They knew that Han Fei had endured a lot alone without them knowing. At this moment, the people who were cultivating in seclusion walked out of their houses one after another, and the battles in the arena stopped. Countless spectators looked up at the sky. Countless disciples of the Thug Academy looked up at the sky in admiration and kept exclaiming, "Human Emperor, Human Emperor." Shouts gradually sounded like a tide, sweeping across the world. In the Thug Academy, Luo Xiaobai's heart stirred. Was the war about to officially start? Han Chani looked at the sky and snorted. She thought to herself, "You're going to war as soon as you come out of seclusion. Don't you even take a look at your daughter?" Of course, she only muttered a few words in her heart. In fact, she knew something that other humans didn't know. The ominous was returning, leaving Han Fei, or even the myriad races with little time. Han Fei said solemnly, "My fellow human beings, I think many of you should know what my appearance means. Yes, another war is coming. And this time, it's the ultimate battle to determine the status of our human race in the sea realm." Back then, 180 billion human beings followed me from the raging sea to the sea realm. We eliminated the 10,000 scale race, destroyed the city of origin, crossed the God-fiend sea, and fought the Central Sea divine realm. Blood flowed on our way, and 70 billion people died in that vast sea. They should have had a beautiful life, whether they lived, died, traveled the sea, or married and had children. But in the end, many of them died without even leaving a corpse. I don't know if you've forgotten, but I dare not. How can we forget? Someone shouted with tears in his eyes, "All my family members have been buried in the blood expedition, all thanks to those B***stars from the Central Sea divine realm. I can't wait to eat their flesh and drink their blood. This hatred has been engraved in my bones and blood. I won't forget it in this life. Master Human Emperor, if you want revenge, please take me with you." Someone shouted, "It's time to settle scores. We should shed our blood in the Central Sea to avenge the 70 billion heroes of our human race. Fight, fight, fight. For a moment, the humans were in an uproar, and killing intent soared to the sky. The strong masters of the divine descendants who had integrated into the human world also shouted, "How can there be no divine descendants in the war against the Central Sea divine realm? Our race was almost eliminated because of the Central Sea divine realm." In the sky curtain, Han Fei's voice sounded again, "The time has come. Now is the time for our human race to take revenge. In the name of the human emperor, I command the human race to fight. Where are the 10 legions? Yes. Yes. Yes." The 10 legions of the human race represented the strongest combat power of the human race. Each legion had 100,000 strong masters. It had only been thousands of years since all their members became sky openers from sea establishers. Han Fei shouted, "On my order, Luo Xiaobai, the former war commander of the human race, return to her position temporarily and lead the 10 legions of the human race to go to war with me." In the Thug Academy, Luo Xiaobai glanced at the students. "Everyone, be prepared for battle. If we win this battle, there will be many battles later. It will be time for you to fight." "Yes, teacher. Teacher, can we win?" As soon as he said so, someone shouted, "Isn't that obvious? When has eldest senior brother human emperor ever been defeated?" Luo Xiaobai smiled. "Yes." With that, Luo Xiaobai's figure quietly disappeared in front of him. Han Fei shouted again, "Orders, all the human cultivators above the sky. Opening realm who are not from the top 10 legions, gather in the main city." "Understood. Understood. Understood." Shouts sounded from all sides of the human race as figures flew across the sky. "Order Han Xian, the guardian of the human race, to recall all the human beings in the West Wilderness and command the human race to be prepared to garrison in the Central Sea divine realm at any time." "Got it." Han Xian's voice instantly spread throughout the human world. "Order Hong Yu, the guardian of the human race, to assist Han Xian and start recruiting soldiers. Gather 10,000 soldiers and be prepared to deal with the small-scale battle against the Central Sea divine realm at any time." "Got it." Hong Yu's voice was loud and clear, and he was surprised. When did he become the guardian of the human race? As soon as Han Fei said so, Yulinka's voice sounded in the sky, "My 8 million divine descendants, listen up. Gather and prepare to go to war." Yulinka's words were concise. This was because very few divine descendants went out to explore and gain experience. They had been waiting for Han Fei to come out of seclusion. In various places of the human race, many inconspicuous figures stood up or silently disappeared. They had waited for this battle for too long. In the end, Han Fei shouted, "I announce that in 3 days, we will go to attack the Central Sea divine realm. In this battle, I want all the living beings in the sea realm to witness the power of our human race. I want the gods to disappear. I want no one in this world to dare to touch our human race. The human race shall rise." Han Fei knew that he couldn't lose this battle. In terms of sea-quelling gods, even if as Old Fierce once said, he was besieged by 2 sea-quelling gods, so what? Now, he could barely be considered a sea-quelling god. Plus Yulinka and Old Fierce, these were the 3 sea-quelling gods, not including 5th senior brother, Lei Heng, and the others. Senior sister Shenlu had said that if she couldn't protect them, Lei Heng and 6th God would definitely not stand by and do nothing. In that case, there would probably have to be 5 sea-quelling gods in the Central Sea divine realm to contend with them in terms of peak combat power. As for fifth senior brother, Han Fei didn't count him in at all. His combat power had completely exceeded that of ordinary sea-quelling gods. No wonder. Fifth senior brother once said that he felt that he could fight a dominator. However, no matter how strong the high-end combatants on his side were, some battles had to be fought by him in the end. That was his obsession that he couldn't get rid of. Just because the human race was one of the 6 ancient lineages, the other lineages almost wiped them out to steal their luck. As the human emperor, how could he not take revenge? 3 days later, the human race's expedition had begun. As the saying went, speed was the most important in war. Therefore, when they led an army to war, the army would enter Han Fei's or Yulinka's origin star. Then, Han Fei saw that Xia Shaochan took Han Chani with her. At this moment, after not seeing her for 300 years, Han Chani's strength had reached the perfected star transformation realm. Speaking of which, it seemed that it was caused by him. Because his bloodline level suddenly strengthened and soared to the 2nd place in the infinite ocean. Han Chani's bloodline was also affected. Originally, Han Chani had broken through the sea establishment realm and climbed all the way to the late stage of the star transformation realm. During this process, she just needed resources. However, because of the abnormal change in her bloodline level, in just 10 years, she broke through 2 realms in a row and reached the perfected star transformation realm. Han Fei couldn't explain the mechanism of this bloodline connection. Anyway, after Han Chani's bloodline changed, her cultivation speed increased several times, and the shackles she had set up before almost couldn't suppress her. Fortunately, Xia Shaochan discovered it in time and strengthened the seal. Han Fei frowned slightly and was about to speak, when Xia Shaochan said to him, via voice transmission, let her go in first. It's up to you whether to let her participate in the battle or not. Han Chani snorted at Han Fei. Don't try to trap me in your origin star, or I won't talk to you for the rest of my life. Han Fei smiled and said, I'm not trapping you. This is a battle that everyone has to participate in. However, it's up to me where you attack and when you attack. I'm not targeting you. It's the same for everyone. Humph. All right. To be honest, Han Chani was very excited at this moment. She had never experienced such a huge war. Every time she read the history books and saw the records of the blood expedition, she felt an inexplicable hatred in her heart. Not just her, all the juniors of the human race in the infinite mining area hated the Central Sea Divine Realm. They were very familiar with the names of the Divine Demon Forest and the Ancient Demon Race. Their dream since they were young was to become strong, attack the Central Sea Divine Realm, and avenge the 70 billion ancestors of the human race. Therefore, Han Chani was lucky enough to participate in such a battle. There were still many people who knew that they were not strong enough. Even if they followed Han Fei to the Central Sea Divine Realm, they would only cause trouble for Han Fei, so they silently prayed for Han Fei and the others. From the moment Han Fei set off, he felt that the power of faith had soared. He couldn't help but sigh. He shouldn't be able to harvest the power of faith. Many times. Another moment later. At the border of the West Wilderness and the Central Sea Divine Realm, Han Fei, Yulinka, Qiu Wanren, and 32 gods of the divine descendants appeared here. They looked at the vast sea and were excited. Qiu Wanren sneered. What is rotten should be rebuilt. This is a rule for any race or force. Our divine descendants can't escape this rule, neither can those people. Which race should we start a war with first? Han Fei said, Senior, no rush. Then, Han Fei took a few steps forward and activated his original Great Tao. He shouted, the strong masters of the entire Sea Realm, including the central Sea Divine Realm, I am Human Emperor Han Fei. When Han Fei raised his strength to the level of a sea-quelling god, his voice could spread throughout the 5 seas easily. The moment Han Fei spoke, many people in the 5 divine realms looked up at the sky. Human Emperor? Who was the Human Emperor? Some people didn't know Han Fei. Although Han Fei had caused many death tides, it didn't mean that all the races in the sea realm knew him. Someone couldn't help being shocked and immediately stood up. Is it the Human Emperor who killed many great monarchs in the East Sea Divine Realm? Someone was surprised. From what the Human Emperor said, he's famous in the 5 divine realms. How terrifying is his strength to do this? The Human Emperor has finally taken action. Someone looked gratified. In the Phoenix Divine race in the South Sea Divine Realm, the primordial star Tree sensed this voice and couldn't help but sigh. If he wants his voice to spread to the 5 seas, he has to be at least at the god-slaying level. Right? This guy cultivates so fast. In the divine capital dynasty of the East Sea Divine Realm, when great monarch East Marshal, who was sitting cross-legged, heard this, he opened his eyes and said via voice transmission in the next moment, pass down my order to seal the border of the Central Sea. The army is ready to go to war at any time. In the North Sea Divine Realm, Senior Brother 6 God and Lei Heng woke up from their cultivation, respectively. Senior Brother 6 God drew a decree in the air and shouted, Insect Army, go to war. In the Wild Ancient Race in the West Wilderness, Lu Tianming shouted, the Wild Ancient Race, march to the border of the Central Sea and be prepared to garrison the Central Sea Divine Realm at any time. Brothers, it's time to plunder the Central Sea Divine Realm. Such an opportunity is hard to come by in 10,000 years. Everyone, follow me. In addition to these forces that had been preparing to take action, countless small forces had also taken action. Whether they could plunder the Central Sea Divine Realm depended on this time. This was an excellent opportunity to improve the power of their sects and forces. As for the tens of thousands of forces in the Central Sea Divine Realm, they looked extremely nervous at this moment. Someone was shocked. They came so fast. Are they going to start a war? Someone was shocked. What is the strength of this Human Emperor? He just appeared more than 1,000 years ago, and now he dares to challenge the Central Sea Divine Realm? In the Central Sea Divine Realm, these forces of various sizes were very well informed and extremely sensitive to the situation in the Sea Realm. This undercurrent had already begun 300 years ago. It turned out that most of these big and small forces relied on some superpowers. Many well-informed forces had secretly turned to submit to some of the major forces in the 4 divine realms. There were also some small forces that were either too close to the superpowers in the Central Sea Divine Realm or were deeply involved with these superpowers that they couldn't get away. Therefore, when they heard Han Fei's voice, their hearts skipped a beat. They wouldn't be naive enough to think that a mere human race couldn't contend with the Central Sea Divine Realm. If the human race was really weak, it would have long been wiped out or declined. How could they still have a chance to challenge the Central Sea Divine Realm? As for the strong masters of the Primordial Divine Academy, the ancient demon race, the Divine Demon Forest, the Heavenly Pearl Insect Valley, the Light city, and even the chaotic divine race, they all looked solemn. In the battle 300 years ago, the plan was simply flawless in their eyes, but in the end, it failed. 3 god-slaying level powerhouses died, none of the 18 gods survived, and 4 supreme nature treasures were missing. This was because at this moment, more or less 2 voices had appeared in their respective clans. One advocated to leave the sea realm and go to the Sea of Stars, and the other advocated war and tried to repel Han Fei. However, the current Sea of Stars was the battlefield, and the Sea Realm was the origin of all races. They had lived in the Central Sea Divine Realm for too long. Giving up the Central Sea Divine Realm was equivalent to giving up the foundation of a race. How could it be so easy to establish another foundation in the Sea of Stars? For example, at this moment, the ancient demon race was in an uproar. The elders quickly gathered, and an elder immediately shouted angrily, "I told you that Han Fei would never let it go. Now, a real war has started, and it's in the Central Sea Divine Realm." An elder snorted. "What are you afraid of? Our ancient demon race has countless strong masters. We have both sea-quelling gods and billions of peoples and ruled 300 forces. Even if Han Fei is crazy, does he dare to destroy our ancient demon race? If he does that, he will be a sinner of all races." "Ridiculous, you're deceiving yourself. Have you forgotten what happened 300 years ago? That god-slaying level powerhouse rushed over and wreaked havoc. A war broke out in our ancient demon race, causing the death of nearly 1 billion of our people. Is this what you mean by he doesn't dare? That Han Fei is already lawless. Don't you know?" Someone said coldly, "We can't abandon the sea realm, but we also have to protect the heavenly talents of our race. Haven't we already sent away a batch of them? If Han Fei really dares to attack, how can our sea-quelling gods stand by and watch?" An elder said solemnly, "Even if the 4 divine realms take action, it will be a protracted battle. The key to this battle is still the battle of the strong." Buzz. After they discussed for a while, Han Fei's voice sounded again, "The Central Sea Divine Realm is full of strong masters, suppressing the 4 seas. All the strong masters destroyed other races to seize luck and the resources of the 4 seas to nurture their own heavenly talents. The war in the Sea of Stars lasted for a long time, and the 4 seas all went out to protect the sea realm. Only the Central Sea Divine Realm hid their gods to suppress the other 4 divine realms, making them submit. This is the current situation of the Central Sea Divine Realm. They bully the weak and are already rotten. In the past, our human race came out of the East Sea Divine Realm for survival in the Sea Realm. However, the ancient lineages in the Central Sea Divine Realm, the Divine Demon Forest, the Ancient Demon Race, the Light City, the Sky Spider, Worm Valley, and the Chaotic Divine Race plotted against our race and caused 70 billion people of our human race to die in the boundless sea. Today, I, Han Fei, am determined to wipe out those rotten forces in the Central Sea Divine Realm. Anyone who stands in my way will be killed. In the name of the human Emperor, I promise that we'll share the Central Sea Divine Realm with everyone. And it will be ruled by all the races in the 4 other divine realms." Boom. It could be said that the Sea Realm was shocked by Han Fei's words. Conquer the Central Sea Divine Realm? And share it with the world? What makes you think you can do that? This was everyone's first reaction. In fact, it was no wonder, because Although Han Fei was a little famous in the sea realm, it was only at the level of the strong. Many ordinary people and small forces were not familiar with him and didn't even know what he had done. But no matter what, they knew this name now, because they all thought that Han Fei was crazy. Above the vast sea, countless people were dumbstruck. Someone was lost for words. Where did this lunatic come from? Someone sighed. Are people so arrogant these days? Someone sighed. What a joke. I heard that there are tens of thousands of extraordinary forces in the Central Sea divine realm. How can this person brag so much? Of course, there were also people who were excited. For example, many people of the Phoenix divine race knew Han Fei's identity. Even now, they still felt that Han Fei had almost become the son-in-law of their Phoenix divine race. As for the ferocious God Valley, these ferocious people couldn't help but sigh. This human emperor had already cleared 2 records in the primordial tower, and although there was no abnormality in the sea realm, they knew that Han Fei and the divine descendants had won. Therefore, they believed Han Fei when he said that he would conquer the sea divine realm. Of course, the humans were the most shocked. Han Fei's voice spread throughout the 5 seas. They felt honored to be humans. At this moment, some people took Han Fei's words seriously, but some people didn't care. They only felt that he was a lunatic talking nonsense. However, in the next moment, divine sound spread throughout the 4 seas. I am Great Monarch East Marshal, from the East Sea Divine Realm. Our soldiers are going to attack the Central Sea Divine Realm. I am the Master of the North Sea. The North Sea Divine Realm is going to attack the Central Sea Divine Realm. The Phoenix Divine Race of the South Sea Divine Realm is launching an attack on the Central Sea Divine Realm. While countless people were still dumbfounded, Han Fei had already said to you, Linka and Qiu Wanren, let's deal with them one by one. We have to find a battlefield. If they are smart, they must join forces. Linka asked, which force shall we start with? Han Fei smiled and said, ancient demon race. I promised their god-slaying level powerhouse to destroy the ancient demon race. I can't go back on my word. Qiu Wanren's eyes lit up. I think so. I know this race well. Besides, this race is indeed heinous. In their race, they actually raised thousands of female cultivators from other races just to give birth to children for them and create a new bloodline. It's simply ridiculous. Another moment later, the distanceless gate suddenly appeared above the ancient demon race. Han Fei and the others walked out of the door one after another without hiding. The moment the distanceless gate appeared, the ancient demon race's protective array was immediately activated, and a group of strong masters rushed out. Immediately, an elder shouted, Human Emperor, victory and defeat are common. During the East expedition, the human race was not wiped out, the divine descendants of the West wilderness revived, and our ancient demon race suffered heavy losses. We are all from the 6 ancient lineages. Do you really want to exterminate our ancient demon race? Han Fei couldn't help but laugh. Oh. When you attacked the human race back, then, why didn't you think that the human race was from the ancient 6 lineages? Now that I'm here, you suddenly remember this? A peak-level great monarch elder of the ancient demon race shouted, if human emperor gives up this battle, our ancient demon race can persuade other major forces to accept the human race into the Central Sea divine realm. Ha ha ha. Han Fei laughed out loud. Are you out of your mind? Are you stalling for Time? I've given you time, but your efficiency is too low. You still need to send messages to all the forces one by one. Let me help you. Han Fei pressed down with one hand, and the great monarch of the ancient demon race who spoke just now exploded. Han Fei didn't even need to take the initiative to cut off the river of life. Under the effect of source power, the great monarch's body and soul were instantly crushed. Rumble. In the next moment, a heavenly Tao crack appeared in the sky, and a rain of blood poured down. The world rumbled. How dare you? This scene frightened the elders of the ancient demon race out of their wits. And they all took out their nature spiritual treasures. They didn't expect Han Fei to be so domineering. Besides, they had greatly underestimated Han Fei's strength. They had thought that although Han Fei was powerful, he was still a great monarch. The revival of the divine descendants was probably not caused by him. Therefore, they felt that they could resist him. However, at this moment, they realized how ridiculous their idea was. Han Fei's strength was so strong that they couldn't estimate it at all. He easily killed a great monarch with a casual blow. How was such strength any different from that of a god? Han Fei's voice spread throughout the Central Sea Divine Realm. Is there no one left in the Central Sea Divine Realm? The ancient demon race doesn't even have a god. If no one comes to help, I'll slaughter them. After Han Fei finished speaking, Qiu Wanren said, have you forgotten that I killed their two gods? You killed a god-slaying level powerhouse of theirs in the world within a world, and their two gods also died there? Han Fei thought to himself, that's true. The ancient demon race is actually strong enough. One godslayer and 4 gods are already extremely powerful in the sea realm. After all, no one knows that a war of this level will break out in the sea realm one day. Han Fei was not in a hurry. Looking at the billions of panicked creatures of the ancient demon race, his face was cold. In the battle, no one cared about the life of these weaklings, just like no one would care about the lives of the humans back then. However, he also discovered that the number of heavenly talents, peak level sea establishers and perfected star transformation realm cultivators of the ancient demon race didn't seem right. The ancient demon race was not stupid. They knew to let some people hide in advance. However, Han Fei didn't care. 1 second, 2 seconds, 3 seconds. After 3 seconds, seeing that no one came, Han Fei no longer hesitated and immediately said, no one? In that case, die. At the moment when Han Fei was about to attack, a divine realm powerhouse stepped out of the void. Stop, the sea-quelling divine decree has arrived. The visitor held an ancient golden scroll. He hurriedly stood in Han Fei's way and unfolded the ancient scroll. Each word on the ancient scroll flickered with dazzling golden light. Then, a divine voice descended. Han Fei of the human race, on account of the fact that it wasn't easy for your human race to rise, even if you cause a storm of blood in the sea realm, I turned a blind eye to it. Now, you've become even more aggressive and want to start a civil war. How can I sit by and watch? Now I order your race to withdraw from the Central Sea Divine Realm and quell the civil war. Then I can let bygones be bygones. If you don't obey, I'll suppress you. Bullshit sea-quelling divine decree. Who do you think you are? How dare you teach me how to do things? Yulinka also revealed a look of disdain. At this point, who did he think he was? Did he think they had to listen to his decree? Han Fei raised his hand and punched at the sea-quelling divine decree. A divine seal of laws immediately burst out of the divine decree and easily blocked Han Fei's punch. Seeing this, many elders of the ancient demon race heaved a sigh of relief. The expression of the god who gave the order changed drastically, and he shouted angrily, "Han Fei, how dare you disrespect the divine decree of our sea-quelling god? Your race? So, you are also from the ancient demon race?" Buzz. Han Fei immediately activated his original Great Dao, and his strength soared, breaking through the 5 million mark. In the next moment, Han Fei brandished his sword in the air and shouted in a low voice, "Sword 5, shattering. Slash." At this moment, Han Fei's combat power was extremely terrifying. Seeing this, Yulinka's eyes lit up, and she thought to herself, this secret technique is so powerful. It can actually increase Han Fei's combat power to this extent. Swish clang. Puff. The sea-quelling divine decree failed to block the sword of shattering at all. It was pierced through and shattered on the spot. Han Fei, that's the decree of a sea-quelling god. How dare you destroy it? The expression of the god who came to deliver the message changed drastically. He didn't expect Han Fei to be so reckless as to not even give face to a sea-quelling god. In the Sea of Stars, the sea-quelling god was already a legendary existence. A sea-quelling god might be able to suppress a domain or multiple domains. Each of them was a terrifying powerhouse who could suppress multiple battlefields alone. Each of them could almost suppress the entire sea realm. Therefore, even Han Fei was a little surprised that there were sea-quelling gods in the sea realm. However, after witnessing the strength of some sea-quelling gods, Han Fei had lost his respect for sea-quelling gods. The ancient demon god who had returned from the Sea of Stars was still trying to intimidate Han Fei before, but in the next moment, he felt that the surrounding void was sealed, and a boundless hand grabbed him. Han Fei put on a cold smile. Not to mention this sea-quelling divine decree. I can even kill the sea-quelling god of your ancient demon race. Ka ka ka. The ancient demon god felt that all his bones were broken inch by inch. An irresistible power made him feel the fear of death. No. Boom. Han Fei crushed the god with one hand, and the heavenly Dao crack appeared. Again. Knock, knock, knock. The heavenly Dao death knell began to wail, shaking the entire sea realm. Han Fei had just claimed to flatten the decayed Central Sea divine realm, and in the next moment, the heavenly Dao death knell sounded. This time, everyone in the sea realm was shocked. Han Fei, how dare you kill my messenger? Do you know what you are doing? The shattered sea-quelling divine decree turned into intertwined Dao patterns and laws, materializing a giant hundreds of thousands of feet tall. Han Fei clenched his fist, and his fist light shook the world. In the millions of kilometers of sky, law surged. Not to mention that you're just a clone, even if your original body returns. I can kill you. Kill. How dare you? The phantom of the sea-quelling god roared like thunder and pressed down with his palm. Rumble. Han Fei was blasted back tens of millions of kilometers, directly out of the protective array of the ancient demon race. However, Han Fei went fast, but came back even faster. In the blink of an eye, Han Fei jumped up again and threw out 100,000 fistlights. Boom, boom, boom. The sea-quelling god had thought that he could suppress Han Fei with a casual blow, but in this clash, not only had Han Fei mastered the source power, but his physique had also become extremely strong. As for Han Fei, he had two feelings in that short clash. First of all, as expected of a veteran sea-quelling god. Even the power of a phantom was much stronger than his. Secondly, the moment he was bombarded, Han Fei felt the blood flowing in his body, instantly extracting the power of heaven and earth, spontaneously giving birth to a guardian power to protect him. This had never happened before. Bloodline power? After all, it was just a clone. Although Han Fei was no match for it, the other party only had the power to launch a few attacks. In the blink of an eye, it was pierced through by Han Fei. The ripples produced by the collision of the two directly crushed millions of kilometers here. The first and second layers of the ancient demon races. Mountain protecting arrays were destroyed by the aftershock. Countless people were instantly crushed, evaporated, and disappeared without a trace. Han Fei didn't know how many people had been killed by this power, but there must be hundreds of millions of ancient demons killed. The third level of the ancient demon race's protective array was already full of cracks. Han Fei's face turned cold as he punched dozens of times in a row. With a crack, the array shattered, and Han Fei faced the elders of the ancient demon race again. At this moment, these elders of the ancient demon race were already dumbfounded. Why hadn't anyone come yet? Did they really have to wait for the ancient demon race to die out? Han Fei snorted. It seems that no one will come to save you. Since that's the case, die. Our human race will bear the luck of the 6 ancient lineages for you. Bang! Han Fei flipped his hand and pressed down, and the power of his palm spread tens of millions of kilometers. Rumble. At this critical moment, a figure finally appeared. He raised one hand to the sky and held the suppressing power of tens of millions of kilometers with the other. An old and majestic voice sounded. Han Fei, there are some things that can be discussed. Han Fei took a closer look, only to see an old man who looked like a celestial being, carrying 2 long swords diagonally on his back, looking up at him. Qiu Wanren shouted, "It's him. He attacked us 300 years ago." The old man said indifferently, "If you want to destroy the ancient demon race, what's the difference between your human race and the ancient demon race? Hee, so what? The rise and fall of races has always been like this. The difference is that our human race can survive, but I don't know if you can." Sister-in-law, Elder Qiu. Kill. Stubborn. The 2 swords behind the old man soared into the sky, and he was about to attack when he suddenly heard a furious roar. In the next moment, a ferocious shadow instantly crushed the void. With just one charge, except for the old man, several great monarchs were instantly crushed by the divine power and exploded. The old man's face changed slightly. He blocked with his 2 swords, and in an instant, a big hole drilled out of this world. The crack in the world where the ancient demon was pierced through by a single blow. Who else could it be but Old Fierce? It's you? You haven't recovered your strength yet. Do you think you're still the unparalleled Qiongqi? In the next moment, Old Fierce shouted, "Han Fei, lend me the law enforcement divine chain." Han Fei seemed to be able to tell that the old man's dual swords seemed extraordinary. And Qiu Wanren had said that he had never seen anyone faster than Old Fierce. The speed of Qiongqi was among the top 10 in the infinite ocean. This time, Old Fierce was obviously launching a sneak attack, but the other party still reacted. Was it because the old man's realm was higher than Old Fierce? Obviously not. Old Fierce had been in the sea-quelling god realm for a long time and was the former patriarch of the Qiongqi lineage. Although he hadn't recovered from his injuries, how could he be weaker than this old man? Therefore, Old Fierce failed to launch a sneak attack in the same realm, which could only mean that the double swords were supreme nature treasure level treasures. At this moment, Old Fierce wanted to borrow the law enforcement divine chain. Han Fei didn't hesitate at all. As long as he could kill this old man, he could even borrow the creation divine prison. Take it. With a thought from Han Fei, the law enforcement divine chain immediately flew away. In the next second, the law enforcement divine chain rolled into a big hand. And Old Fierce used the law divine chain as a boxing glove and rushed out. However, Han Fei was a little puzzled. The sea-quelling god's attack was too loud. When Old Fierce attacked the old man, he directly killed the elders of the ancient demon race, by the way. The life river in this space had been sealed by him, so they couldn't be resurrected, no matter what. Han Fei didn't even have a person to talk to now. Han Fei said casually, no more people seem to be coming to save them. Qiu Wanren said, then kill them. Anyway, I'm plagued by negative karma. It doesn't make any difference if I kill more or less. Wait a minute. Yulinka suddenly spoke. She was about to attack the white-haired old man just now, but since Old Fierce was one step ahead of her, she let it go. This was because she felt another threat. A long sword appeared in Yulinka's hand and she pointed it at the sky. Since you're here, come out. It's your turn sooner or later. Buzz. A young man in golden white broke through the space crack of the ancient demon race and appeared in front of Han Fei and the others. The man said, the methods of the human race and the divine descendants are really simple and crude. You're really going to wipe out the ancient demon race? Yulinka said, not just the ancient demon race, but you can also tell me your name. I don't mind slaughtering your race too. The newcomer snorted coldly. He stared into the void and shouted, human emperor is immoral. He slaughtered billions of people in the Central Sea divine realm wantonly. As a dignified godly realm powerhouse, he actually attacked ordinary people. How is he worthy of being human emperor? Just imagine, a god who slaughtered mortals wantonly invaded the Central Sea divine realm. How impure was his purpose? The difference between the two seemed obvious. Yulinka's eyes were cold. You're courting death. However, the man didn't see any emotion on Han Fei's face, not even anger. Han Fei said indifferently, I already know which race you are from. Only the chaotic divine race can bewitch the world with a few words. The man narrowed his eyes slightly. Yes, so what? Whether it's the ancient demon race, the chaotic divine race, or the big clans you're going to wipe out, there are countless strong masters fighting in the sea of stars. If they find out that their races have been wiped out overnight, do you think they will really be indifferent? The corners of Han Fei's mouth curled up slightly. Do you think I care? 2. Put it bluntly, whether there are strong masters from your races or not doesn't affect this ominous battle much. Why, do you think you stopped the ominous? Before the man said anything, Han Fei continued, besides, your little tricks are meaningless. History is written by winners. To put it bluntly, I can write it however I want. I don't think I've ever told you that I'm a good person. Why do you judge me with the standard of being a good person? The man's expression changed slightly, and he thought to himself, not good. Does Han Fei really not care? He said, since you are the owner of the demon purification pot, you are born with the responsibility to resist the ominous. How can you command all races? If you are brutal and immoral? Ha ha ha. Han Fei grinned ferociously. You think you can restrain me with just a few words? You said I was brutal, so I'll show you how brutal I can be. History will tell you that time will always obliterate other people's memories. Don't you Central Sea Divine Realm know this better than me? Sister-in-law, hit him. Swish. Yulinka's sword danced in the sky and slashed the man back. Behind him, a world projection appeared, clearly trying to release the 8 million strong masters of the divine descendants. However, Qiu Wanren shouted, "Don't be hasty. Stop this person. I'll destroy this ancient demon race." Yulinka frowned. Before she replied, Qiu Wanren laughed and said, "As I said, I'm already plagued by negative karma. It makes no difference if I slaughter more or less. However, the people of the divine descendants are all waiting to break through to the divine realm. How can I let them touch this negative karma?" With that, Qiu Wanren stepped in the air, and billowing ripples swept in all directions. The palaces of the ancient demon race all collapsed, and dozens of small defensive arrays were shattered one after another. As for the strong masters of the ancient demon race, protected by the small defensive arrays, how could they resist the slaughter of a god-slaying level powerhouse? Under the power of this kick, they all exploded. In fact, she knew that what Qiu Wanren said was only one of the reasons. The other reason was that he suspected that there were other strong masters here. Once 8 million divine descendants were released, if another sea quelling god took action, it would be the end of the divine descendants. It was also for this reason that Han Fei had no intention of letting the human race come out to fight at all. Qiu Wanren knew Han Fei's concerns, so he wanted to use himself as bait to see if there were any stronger masters in the Central Sea Divine Realm. Seeing this, Han Fei didn't stop them. If it was a strong master at the level of a sea-quelling god, it was completely possible for them to avoid the perception of the vast ocean navigator in some way. For example, 300 years ago, in the infinite mining area, the vast ocean navigator didn't find a god slaying level or a sea-quelling god level powerhouse, but they still took action. It was not bad for Qiu Wanren to be bait. If no one came to save the ancient demon race, they would really be wiped out. Bang! Bang! Rumble! Qiu Wanren was like a bloodthirsty demon god. Wherever he went, the world collapsed and everything withered. No one could underestimate the power of a god-slaying level cultivator just because of the existence of sea-quelling gods. Furthermore, it was a terrifying god-slaying level powerhouse like Qiu Wanren who had 4 million combat power as soon as he advanced to this realm. If he was allowed to grow freely, it was only a matter of time before he advanced to the sea-quelling god level. At this moment, Qiu Wanren was still sweeping the core of the ancient demon race. In just a moment, hundreds of millions of creatures had died under his crazy destruction. After half an hour, the core area of the ancient demon race had been flattened, but no other strong masters had come out. Just as Qiu Wanren was about to leave this place and sweep the entire ancient demon race, Han Fei suddenly took out the vast ocean navigator and looked for sea-quelling gods. Unfortunately, the vast ocean navigator didn't point out the existence of any sea-quelling god. Han Fei frowned slightly, but he was still worried. He raised his head and shouted, "Senior brother Lei Heng, I don't need you to take action, but please help me guard this place. If a sea-quelling god-level powerhouse takes action, help me stop him." Okay. Lei Hang's response was very fast. He and senior brother Six God were both watching and knew Han Fei's concerns. Although Han Fei said that he wanted to slaughter the entire ancient demon race, it didn't mean that he had to do it himself. Otherwise, he wouldn't have needed to mobilize the Huma powerhouses. He could have done it alone. It was simple and fast. Under the power of a sea-quelling god, how could ordinary people survive? Senior Chiao, stop. No one will come. The ancient demon race has been abandoned. Or, those people were waiting for the reaction of the Sea of Stars. They wanted to use him to get rid of the ancient demon race and then use the strong masters of the Sea of Stars to stop him. With a thought from Han Fei, a world phantom appeared. The 10 legions of the human race, as well as countless new legions, had more than 80 million sea establishers. These 80 million people could be said to be the elites of the human race. At this moment, the 80 million humans were looking at the rain of blood and were listening to the mournful death knells in the sky, all full of fighting intent. Han Fei shouted, "My fellow human beings, this is the base camp of the ancient demon race. Today, I don't have any special requirements for you. Just kill as many people as you can. However, it's best if you fight opponents in the same realm. Otherwise, you'll be plagued by negative karma. Remember, don't blow yourself up. If you encounter danger, guard your soul. Even if you die, I can revive you. Kill, kill, kill." As soon as Han Fei said so, Luo Xiaobai said, "Everyone, listen to my command. Don't act on your own." As the war commander of the human race, as soon as Luo Xiaobai appeared and scanned around with her perception, she knew the current situation of the ancient demon race. She shouted, 7 Kill Army, guard the southeast. Dragon Tiger Army, guard the northwest. Heaven-shaking army and earth-subduing army, march from the southwest and northeast corners and kill all the sky-opening realm powerhouses. Along the way, the other 6 legions and the 2 newly established legions guard all directions and wait for their reinforcements. The rest of the human race sweep here freely. If we encounter a strong enemy, immediately warn us. After forming the formation, retract into the inner circle by 100,000 miles every half an hour. Luo Xiaobai's plan emphasized the word lockdown. This was because she discovered that countless places of the ancient demon race had been flattened. Most of the remaining people were like startled birds. If they slowly surrounded them, in the end, those people would be completely sealed by the human race. Instantly, the roars of the ancient demon race shook the sky. Almost every moment, someone was dying. Logically speaking, the 80 million humans were not enough to surround the entire ancient demon race. However, the ancient demon race had been destroyed too seriously by Qiu Wanren. Countless ancient demons panicked and their combat power was greatly reduced. Furthermore, after only half an hour, Yulinka returned and released 8 million divine descendants. This time, this place was swept up and destroyed. 1 day, 2 days. This battle lasted for 2 days and 2 nights. Old Fierce came back a day later, bathed in blood and carrying a thigh that looked like a bird's leg. Han Fei was stunned. "Senior, did you kill that old man?" Old Fierce threw the law enforcement divine chain to Han Fei and shook his head. "No, I couldn't kill him. I only cut off a leg of his. This thing is not bad. It can restore some of my strength. Chilwanren was lost for words. When can your strength return to its peak? Old Fear snorted. If I can kill 3 sea-quelling gods, 3 years. Otherwise, 30,000 years. Han Fei. The third day was the day when the human race and the divine descendants plundered resources. In this battle, almost all the strong masters above the sea establishment realm of the ancient demon race were wiped out, while less than 300,000 humans and divine descendants died. It was not because fewer of them died, but because Han Fei was reviving them. Unless their bodies and souls were both destroyed, no matter how many pieces of their bodies exploded into, Han Fei could revive them. On the other hand, the ancient demon race members were really dead when they were killed. They didn't even have a chance to revive. On the third day, the human race and the divine descendants cleared the battlefield and dug out the origin stars of the dead ancient demon race. Powerhouses. They had gained a lot. The countless resources, if exchanged for life stars, exceeded 10 million. Swish. Just as Han Fei was thinking that he had to return the 20 billion origin stars to Senior Brother 6 God, he suddenly heard a great monarch from the divine descendants hurriedly come to Han Fei and Yulinka. The man said, Moon Master, Human Emperor, Patriarch. We accidentally found a strange door in the mountain of the ancient demon race's main temple. This door can't be perceived and emits a strange power. A gate that can't be perceived? Han Fei and Yulinka looked at each other. Among the 3 of them, one was at the sea-quelling god level, and another was at the god-slaying level. They had swept this place countless times. How could they not even find a door? Yulinka said, let's go and take a look. This was a place enveloped by a faint purple mist. A gate that emitted a purple halo and was about 1,000 feet high seemed to be completely embedded in this mountain. Han Fei couldn't help but look at Chilwanren. Senior, do you know this? Chilwanren didn't respond to Han Fei immediately. Yulinka, on the other hand, was puzzled. The energy dissipating from this door doesn't seem to be source power, but its level of power seems to be the same as source power. Han Fei said, isn't source power only obtained through the fusion of physical power and soul power? But this kind of energy seems to be born naturally. Suddenly, Chilwanren said, Old Fierce, do you think it's that thing? Old Fierce hummed. Let's find out. Boom. Old Fierce stomped, and the mountain engraved with countless Tao patterns and arrays exploded. However, in the next moment, Han Fei and the others discovered that the small mountain they were on showed no signs of shattering at all. This was a blow from a sea-quelling god. It could even collapse the spiritual treasure mountain, but the area here was safe and sound. In the next moment, Old Fierce said, it's that thing. I'm sure. Han Fei was puzzled. What is it? Chilwanren said, if we're not wrong, this might be something passed down from the chaotic era. It's called the Gate of Creation, also known as the Primordial Purple Gate. Primordial Purple Gate? Chilwanren said, perhaps you don't know, but the various treasures we use now are all called nature spiritual treasures, nature supreme treasures. They are all created by the heavens and earth and are extremely mysterious. I don't know why they were born. However, in the chaotic era, when the heavens and earth were not separated and the sea of stars was in chaos, some primordial chi flowed in the chaos. And in the primordial chi, some primordial spiritual treasures would be born. There were naturally not as many as nature spiritual treasures, but there were also many at that time. Han Fei asked, you mean primordial spiritual treasures that are comparable to supreme nature treasures? Qiu Wanren tilted his head and glanced at Han Fei. Who told you that? Primordial spiritual treasures are comparable to supreme nature treasures? It's not like this at all. The two can only be said to have their own strengths. Some supreme nature treasures or even supreme nature spiritual treasures are stronger than primordial spiritual treasures. Some primordial spiritual treasures are even comparable to supreme nature treasures, or even surpass supreme nature treasures. Surpass? Qiu Wanren took a deep look at Han Fei. Logically speaking, you should be the person most familiar with primordial spiritual treasures now. Me? Han Fei was stunned. What does it have to do with me? Qiu Wanren said, the demon purification pot is not a supreme nature treasure. Do you know where it came from? Han Fei was immediately refreshed. Did the primordial qi give birth to the demon purification pot? Qiu Wanren nodded and then shook his head. I don't know where it was born. But I know it was in a primordial chaos. Do you know where the path of reincarnation came from? Qiu Wanren shook his head. I don't know either. However, at the beginning, countless strong masters died. After they died, some of their souls disappeared into a primordial mist. I don't know if it's the path of reincarnation, but it's an unofficial legend. Han Fei asked, wasn't Jiang Taichu the one who controlled the path of reincarnation? Qiu Wanren said, he was indeed in charge of it once, but this doesn't mean that the path of reincarnation is his. At the beginning, the path of reincarnation should have been in the hands of the first human emperor of the chaotic era. No one knew how the path of reincarnation came about. It was just passed down to the chaotic era. Jiang Taichu was in charge of the primordial seal, so he naturally took charge of the path of reincarnation. After he disappeared, the path of reincarnation disappeared, so did the primordial seal. Han Fei's eyelids twitched, and he muttered in his heart, that's because my mother stole them. Han Fei asked, what about the primordial purple gate? Qiu Wanren said, there are 6 primordial purple gates. 6? Qiu Wanren said again, there are 6 ancient lineages. Han Fei asked in surprise, are you saying that each of the 6 ancient lineages controlled a primordial purple gate? Qiu Wanren said, at first, the 6 gates were all controlled by the first human emperor. It can only be said that the human race declined and the gates might have been taken away by the other lineages. As for whether there is a connection between the 6 ancient lineages and the primordial purple gate, it's just my guess. However, if we follow this line of thinking, it should work. Han Fei couldn't help but ask, then what's the use of the primordial purple gates? Qiu Wanren shook his head. It's said to be for cultivation. I haven't tried it. Since you've got one of them now, you can try it. Han Fei thought to himself, no matter what the use of the primordial purple gates is, they belong to the former human race after all. It's only natural for me to take them back. Han Fei pressed a hand on the primordial purple gate, trying to push it open. However, the primordial purple gate disappeared into his body with a swish. Han Fei was stunned. Where did it go? He hurriedly checked his body, searched his sea of consciousness, and then searched for his origin star. However, no one could find the primordial purple gate. Han Fei said in shock, would you believe me if I said that it's gone? Qiu Wanren, old fierce, and Yulinka looked at Han Fei silently. In the end, Qiu Wanren said, anyway, it's with you. You can take your time too. Find it later. We're fighting now. After the battle here, we have to go to the next one. In that case, let's go to the divine demon forest. Although Han Fei didn't know where the primordial purple gate was, since such an ancient thing had appeared, there must be one in the divine demon forest. No matter what this thing could do, he had to snatch it first. While Han Fei was annihilating the ancient demon race, the armies of the strong masters of the four divine realms took action one after another, besieging and subduing the people of the ancient demon race from all directions. Of course, the speed of this encirclement was definitely very slow, not as fast as Han Fei's attack on the ancient demon race. There was no need for the four divine realms to intensify the battle, because the battle situation in the Central Sea Divine Realm hadn't been decided yet. Han Fei had only attacked the ancient demon race, which couldn't suppress the entire Central Sea Divine Realm. Now, they were slowly advancing because they wanted to see the situation more clearly. They were waiting for the reactions of the strong masters of the Sea of Stars. If the strong masters of the Sea of Stars intervened, this grand purge was very likely to end. Not only were the four divine realms watching, but some careful forces in the Central Sea Divine Realm were also watching. If they stood on the wrong side, at this time they might never be able to return to the Central Sea Divine Realm. In the Sea of Stars, at this moment, it was indeed not calm. Outside the Sea Realm, Fifth Senior Brother took 2 sips of wine from the wine gourd in his hand. In front of him were 2 sea-quelling god-level powerhouses. One of them was a giant silver wolf. He glared at Fifth Senior Brother and said, "Zhang Shaoling, what do you mean?" Fifth Senior Brother wiped the wine from the corner of his mouth and said, "You're sea-quelling gods, but you didn't guard the ominous battlefield, but returned to the Sea Realm. As commanders, it's not appropriate for you to neglect your duty, right?" The Silver Wolf shouted angrily, "Our ancient demon race is about to be wiped out. How could you say it's inappropriate for me to return?" Fifth Senior Brother smiled faintly and said, "Wasn't the human race almost wiped out by the ancient demon race too? Besides, a group of people from the ancient demon race should have left, right? How can they be wiped out?" The Silver Wolf said coldly, "So, the Void Temple is going to forcibly destroy our ancient demon race?" Fifth Senior Brother shrugged. "What does it have to do with the Void Temple? That's the grudge between my little junior brother, the divine descendants, and the ancient demon race. In the past, you didn't restrain your clansmen. Now that your race is about to be wiped out, you came to save them? Aren't you bullying those races that don't have sea-quelling gods?" Another sea-quelling god said solemnly, "Zhang Shaoling, Han Fei set off a full-scale battlefield in the Central Sea Divine Realm. Do you know how many creatures there are? How many strong masters can be born among those creatures?" Gulp ah. Fifth Senior Brother smiled and said, "So what? To put it bluntly, there is no time left for the Sea of Stars and the Sea Realm. Even if you protect the Central Sea Divine Realm now, how long do you think they can last? 10,000 years? Can a sea-quelling god be born in 10,000 years? How many can be born?" The Silver Wolf shouted, "Zhang Shaoling, are you going to make way or not?" Fifth Senior Brother put down the wine calabash and finally looked a little solemn. "No. Also, let me remind you that fortunately, I was the one who stood here to stop you today. If it were someone else from the Void Temple, the two of you might not have been able to go back." Buzz. The 2 sea-quelling gods on the opposite side couldn't help but feel their Hearts skip a beat. What did he mean? Could it be that the others from the Void Temple even dared to kill sea-quelling gods? A smile returned to Fifth Senior Brother's face. The karma in the world is fixed. If the ancient 6 lineages could have accepted the human race from the beginning, they wouldn't have become like this. Besides, my little junior brother is quite sensible. At least, he didn't personally attack the people below the sea establishment realm of the ancient demon race. The seed of your ancient demon race is still there. If it's like this for the ancient demon race, it should be the same for the other lineages. Therefore, don't interfere. Go back where you came from. Swish. Another figure appeared. It was a woman who was covered in thorns. She was wearing a red dress and had a beautiful figure. As soon as the woman appeared, she said, "Zhang Shaoling, I won't participate in the matters of the sea realm, but I'm going back to pick up the people from the divine demon forest." Fifth Senior Brother chuckled. After all those you've done, do you think you can escape? The woman's expression changed. Do you mean that you want countless strong masters of our divine demon forest to be wiped out? Fifth Senior Brother said calmly, do I have to make it clear? Then I won't stand on ceremony. The sea realm must be unified after this battle. All the forces in charge of the central sea divine realm must be overthrown. It will no longer be a place where you can do whatever you want. I can turn a blind eye to the people who have been transferred away in the first 300 years. However, are those who haven't left so far really unwilling to leave? Fifth Senior Brother looked at the sea-quelling god in the divine demon forest indifferently. You and I know very well if you really went back to the Central Sea Divine Realm to pick up people. You don't have to put on such a lame show. What isn't supposed to belong to you will never belong to you. It's time to return them to their rightful owners. Am I clear enough? The sea-quelling god of the divine demon forest's expression changed. After a few seconds, she said leisurely, what if we barge in by force? Zhang Shaoling, you should know that our races are not without dominators. Fifth Senior Brother sneered. You can try breaking in, or call your dominators over. Hearing Fifth Senior Brother's words, the three of them fell silent. After a while, the sea-quelling silver wolf said with an unfriendly gaze, the Void Temple is indeed domineering. We ancient demon race have learned our lesson today. The other 2 sea-quelling gods snorted. The female sea-quelling god looked at Fifth Senior Brother deeply and said, I hope the Void Temple will be this domineering forever. Fifth Senior Brother smiled and said, yes, we will. Central Sea Divine Realm. Nearly 90 million people were looting crazily, without even leaving a leaf of grass. However, Han Fei and the others weren't too happy, because the 2 sea-quelling gods from the Central Sea Divine Realm were still there. The sea-quelling god of the chaotic divine race had only met Yulinka. His purpose wasn't to help the ancient demon race at all. Han Fei suspected that he was probably here for the primordial purple gate. However, Han Fei didn't know why there was no follow-up. On this side, Han Fei and Yulinka left with the human race and the divine race army, leaving behind a mess. Countless ancient demons below the sea establishment realm were completely stunned. This space crack had been completely blown up, and they were now wandering in the infinite desolate sea. However, what kind of place was the Central Sea Divine Realm? Since strong masters gathered and the major forces gathered, even ordinary sea beasts in This sea area had extraordinary strength. Among them, there were countless sea establishers. Therefore, billions of ancient demons had just experienced the catastrophe of extinction and were attacked by all kinds of sea beasts. After all, most of them were below the sea establishment realm. Although their foundation was mostly good, in the face of absolute strength, casualties were still common. Countless people had planted seeds of hatred in their hearts at this moment. The ancient demon race that used to be invincible and awe-inspiring in the sea realm was now like a stray dog, chased away by ordinary sea beasts. Some people from small forces even quickly took action after Han Fei, and the others left to catch some peak-level venerables and even some ancient demons with extraordinary bloodlines. Of course, they weren't saving them. After all, the ancient demon race was one of the super forces. They had many extremely secret and powerful inheritances. With the attitude of searching souls and snatching treasures, many people were willing to give it a try. Therefore, after Han Fei and the others visited the ancient demon race, it was just the beginning. Their disaster had just come. The divine demon forest occupied the huge sea area in the north of the central sea divine realm and many cracks. As for demon plants, when their original bodies grew up, it was normal for them to occupy a larger area. When Han Fei and the others came to the divine demon forest, they saw that countless strong masters were already waiting here. For example, the two sea-quelling gods were standing at the front, followed by one god-slaying level powerhouse and 3 gods from the divine demon forest. In addition to the god-slaying level powerhouses of the divine demon forest, there were 4 god-slaying level powerhouses and 9 gods from other races. Han Fei, the other 2, and the 32 gods all stood still and confronted each other in the sky. Han Fei sneered. 2 sea-quelling gods, 5 god-slaying level powerhouses, and 12 gods. As expected of the central sea divine realm, there are really many hidden strong masters. As Han Fei spoke, Qiu Wanren said via voice transmission, the god-slaying level powerhouse of the divine demon forest has very strong soul power. The characteristics of demon plants are extraordinary. If he borrows the power of the entire divine demon forest, he might be able to exert the power of the sea quelling god. Han Fei nodded imperceptibly, but his face was still domineering. Han Fei grinned. Isn't it obvious? I'll destroy the forces that had bullied our human race, even if it meant dyeing the central sea divine realm with blood. Everyone, you didn't reason with me when you could. Now, we have nothing to talk about. The white-haired old man said, the ominous is about to return, but the 2 of you are fighting us to the death. This is a situation where neither of you will win. I have a suggestion. Why don't we fight after the ominous retreats? Yulinka, we can even return the divine treasure of the divine descendants. Humph. Han Fei and Yulinka snorted in unison. Yulinka's fighting intent sword. I'll take the divine treasures of the divine descendants, myself. You don't have to be afraid that I won't be able to find them. The divine treasures are not supreme nature treasures. With the vast ocean navigator, am I worried that I won't be able to find them? Han Fei also laughed and said, ha ha ha. You gathered together because you saw me destroy the ancient demon race, but no one in the Sea of Stars came back to reinforce them, so you're determined to fight, right? TSK, TSK. As expected of a super force from the central sea divine realm. You're so full of schemes. Unfortunately, I, Han Fei, have never relied on schemes since I was young. I've walked through mountains of corpses and seas of blood. There are billions of creatures in the infinite ocean. I really don't care if there are tens of billions less. Our human race lost 70 billion lives in the East Sea. Have I ever complained? Besides, in the battle in the West Wilderness, I once said, "That's so what if 2 of the ancient 6 lineages are gone?" Since you're all here, you're obviously prepared for battle. Let's fight then. Han Fei activated his original Great Dao and his strength sword. He casually took out the law enforcement divine chain and threw it into the void. Old Fierce arrived in an instant and wrapped the law enforcement divine chain with one hand. In Old Fierce's hand there was a big bone with flesh and blood, which made the white-haired old man furious.